saying that there's a lighthouse that's at eye level? Wait, are you saying there's a lighthouse that's at eye level of a plane?
No, level.
You're an idiot, dude. You're consistently an idiot, dude. Seriously. So, and also, this is what you're trying to whistle past, and I'm still going to call you out for it. You tried to say that if you're sitting at the ground where it's more dense and you look at an object 10 miles away and then you go up, it should change drastically, but it doesn't. That's what you said. But it literally would change drastically. So cite it, dude. You just make no. Yes, it would, dude.
Its position. You could actually trig out that position of that.
No, the perception of the object 10 miles away would change through the less dense medium.
Why would it match the presupposed, as you say, value? This angle down. Let's say it's a 1 degree difference. Or I don't know, 10,000 feet to 10 miles. Maybe 2 degrees, 3 degrees. Let's say it's 3 degrees down.
Yeah. Okay, so if I go up there and if I just float the drone there for 48 hours, right, and I record all throughout the day.
Well, hold on.
For 12-hour increments.
Hold on. Yes.
You're a clown, dude.
Hold on.
Is this why y'all let him run wild till maybe I leave and get mad or something?
Instead of measuring the 3 degrees where it should be, we're measuring 4
That's
degrees.
Definitely what it is.
Yes. Right. Where did that 4 degrees? Where did that extra degree come from?
Y'all let Zenek run wild with a rampant obfuscation and bullshit. Hopefully, wearing me out until I'm like, I'm out of here.
This guy, he was asking. I thought he was a pilot, and he's asking how come we can't just put the plane at like a 0 degree angle of attack, basically, and
reach a spot.
Are you a pilot or not, Zenek?
Spot on the ground that you would calculate where it to be, and when you go there. At the right angle to that spot, the spot won't be there when you.
Hey, Zanik, I know some pilots that would be ashamed of you if you're a pilot, dude.
Really? I doubt that.
Really? Because I know a millionaire pilot that knows the Earth is flat. I told him about you without saying your name, and he literally thought it was so funny. I told him some of the arguments you made, and he was laughing hard as shit, dude. This dude's worth over $1 million. Which doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, it's funny. It's funny. Like, he has a really nice private jet. Oh, fuck off.
Question, Jeremy.
It's hilarious.
All right. Jeremy, if you're still there.
Yeah, Zanik, if you're looking to the more differential the medium is, the more refraction there's going to be, right?
People that make over $1 million cannot be.
Why are you? Why it's not your turn?
No, I just said that doesn't actually matter. I'm just saying I think it's funny.
Let me ask this question.
Yeah, you added it in at least twice. He makes $1 million.
Yeah. My point was that like he has a bunch of planes, man.
Nobody
flying for a long time.
So Jeremy, go ahead and ask your question, buddy.
No one cares because it doesn't fit your narrative that all flat earthers are stupid, huh?
Go ahead and ask your question.
You're stupid though.
Go ahead and ask your question. Yeah.
Nah, there's no point.
Yeah, I agree. If Witsit wants to call names, why don't you go over the fucking homework that you posted yesterday? That you said was
I don't in any way ever have to respond to anything
I just posted it for you. I want you to
said.
remind us what you said this was.
Yeah, that
And
the
you ran away.
electrostatic.
But,
No, okay. Now here's what's gonna happen. Watch, I'm gonna already expose you, but you're a gamer. You ran into too excited, buddy. So what Coach is gonna stop interrupting me? So what Coach is gonna try to say is that I acted like this was about the Earth when I literally didn't. But Coach is an idiot. So what I said was this is about the electros. I am. So this is about the electrostatic potential relative to what they say gravity's supposed attractive force is, okay? And now the equations are damn near exactly the same, but what is known as that electrostatics is 10 to the 39th power stronger than what gravity's claimed to be on the local scale, which is on Earth. And then the bottom part of this explains that it's different in space. So the entire point is that locally, and of course the local scale is Earth. Now, that doesn't mean that the equation has anything to do with Earth. That's how stupid Kosho is. He tried to strawman me and said I was saying that. It has nothing to do with the Earth itself. They didn't try to get the electrostatic potential of the Earth. What they're doing is discovering or simply demonstrating the electrostatic potential on the Earth, on the local scale, is 10 to the 39th power stronger than gravity. And then they say, of course, out in space, it's way different, and gravity is the only thing that counts.
So what you did say is exactly as you just said just now. So I don't know why you contradicted yourself, but you just said that this is how it works on Earth, even though you didn't say this had to do with Earth. So let's go ahead and throw that away, though. Let's forget about that. What's the particles?
Wait, no.
What are the objects? What are the objects being described in this picture? Dipshit.
No, you don't need to throw it away, buddy. No. Do you understand that on the Earth is different than the Earth? What?
The objects in the fucking homework that you posted. You said this is.
I don't know. I don't. It doesn't matter.
The, objects on Earth. What are the objects being described here?
Something very small.
Let's call it an electron and a proton.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and call that the scale they're talking about.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and talk about the fact that on that scale, of course, electrostatics is going to be way overpower gravity, and we know that. That's what chemistry is all about. It's how electrons and protons interact.
That's why you cut off the bottom part of this paper, then, huh?
I didn't cut this off. Somebody else posted this
picture. No, you did cut it off, though.
Somebody else posted this picture. You can go ahead and
What's the bottom part say, Kosho? What's the bottom part say, Kosho? What's the bottom part say?
Different. It just says exactly what this is describing.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What does part 2 talk about, Kosho?
Part 2 is just
so,
describing.
The part that you intentionally cut out of the picture to misrepresent it and lie about it?
Somebody else posted this picture. I just reposted it.
Oh, so you just left out part 2.
Copy and paste the picture. But yeah, the point is that
part 2 is actually my point. That's why you're talking about one thing when
it's not talking about that thing at all. It's comparing those forces on the scale of the electron and the proton.
Okay.
So now that you know that,
is here
you can
on
the Harvard papers, more accurately next time.
No, actually, I did. I posted exactly accurate. You had to misrepresent it by cutting it out. Part 2 explains that it's way different on the bigger scale. What it's explaining is that on the very small scale, on the Earth itself, on the local scale, that is on the local scale, meaning on Earth. Okay. Now, what they know is that the electrostatic potential, resting potential itself, just the potential, is 10 to the 39th power stronger than they even claim that gravity is. Then part 2 explains, but this is way different in space, right? That in space, because of the masses being so big, that gravity is the only thing that remains and electrostatics is effectively canceled out. But he left that part out. That was my entire point. He tried to strawman me saying it was electrostatics of the Earth, like I didn't know it was about something very small, which I clearly did. All you can do is try to strawman what I've said and then cut out the actual context of the argument that it's a one-page document and you had to cut it up.
Right, and so also in that equation there, the equation that's describing the gravity, I won't ask you any questions because I don't want to hear you try to answer it. But the masses that they're talking about, the M, those are the masses. On the other one, those are the charges. These equations look the way they look like because they're specific objects with specific masses and specific charges. So it's not talking about scale in the sense of when things are bigger, things are smaller. They're just talking about when things are this mass, and when things have this charge and this charge. That's what it's talking about.
Yeah, so right. Is it the same mass?
Is it the same mass? About the Earth.
Is it the same mass?
Those two things the same mass? No.
Okay, what's the difference
in mass? Like, why are you asking that? It says all the information on the paper.
No, I just think it's funny you think you're making a point. You're not making a point at all.
Yeah, again, I have the rest of the paper here, so it doesn't say anything about the Earth. So you can stop lying to people.
Okay, I'll read it then. So all matter is made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. Even though they're neutral, the protons and electrons can interact through the electrostatic force, which, as we know, as we just saw, is stronger than gravity. Yet somehow gravity determines how most matter moves around in the universe. The reason is that over length scales much larger than the atom size, the charges in an atom cancel each other out. All atoms have the same number of protons and electrons, so from far away they look neutral. Therefore, the small contribution from gravity is all that remains. Literally explaining why it's different on the scale of the universe, Kosha. Literally, that's why you
this is explaining why it's different on the scale of the electron and the proton, is what it's explaining. And everything else, it's not going to have that same effect.
All right, so I guess I have to read it again.
Your whole point.
No, I guess I have to read it again.
You don't have to read it again.
I'll read it again. You're a liar, so I'll read it again. So all matter is made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons. Even though the neutrons are neutral, the protons and electrons can interact through the electrostatic force, which, as we just saw, is stronger than gravity. Yet somehow, gravity determines how most matter moves around the universe. The reason is that over length scales much larger than the atom size, like planets and shit in the universe.
Go ahead and describe that size. Go ahead and describe that size before you continue, because they're not talking about planets when they say 10 to the negative 10.
Anything over that size would include a planet?
No, over that size. Talking about a planet with 10 to the negative 10. I didn't say
anything over that size would include a planet.
1 meter is above that size.
Yeah.
That size. Yeah, 1 meter is the length of your fucking half your body.
Yeah,
So-
they're trying to explain that electrostatics isn't out in space. That electrostatics has no
Talking about
effect
out in
whenever the
space,
mass
they're
gets
saying
way bigger.
everything else in the universe that's not on the small scale that neutrons and electrons and protons exist in.
But that's actually not true because the only way you can say that is you reify weight, and I'm not getting into that with you. So obviously I know that, Zanik. Or Kosho, you act just like Zanik. Do you think I don't know that, Kosho? You think I don't know what weight is in your paradigm, Kosho? You're an idiot,
It
bro.
says things in space. It says things bigger than the atomic scale.
Okay, what it says is that we know that electrostatics is way stronger than gravity, even though they're both very negligible in the overall scheme of things. But whenever it applies to most of the matter in the universe, that it's gravity. And that whenever it gets way bigger, gravity is all that remains. And this is because if that wasn't the case, you couldn't explain orbital trajectories within the solar system or anything else for that matter. So you just want to act like I don't understand it, but you're the one that never understands it.
You clearly don't, because we are much bigger than
Oh,
atoms.
okay,
We are in the subset of things that they're saying that applies where gravity is much stronger.
Yeah, because they say that everything with weight is gravity, bro.
Yeah.
They ignore electrostatics. This is their this is my whole point.
Yeah.
This is their
That sounds
explanation
right.
to explain why weight has nothing to do with electrostatics. They just say because the gravity's stronger. They just whenever it gets bigger, they just say that, and then they say that weight is synonymous with mass times gravity. That's the whole point of me bringing this up. Are you saying that that isn't true?
God damn. We're talking about
Yeah, I
Social
wonder why
media,
Austin.
asking what you're
Why would
saying,
Austin
Bob,
ever get upset in here? I can't imagine.
Seems like
You say something?
yeah, he's explained it better than you. Well, you're saying he doesn't know what he's on about, but he's explained it thoroughly, and you ain't responded to him directly.
Explain what he just said then.
He explained that things bigger than the size that you give on this, which is like, what is it, 10 to the negative 10 or something. Anything bigger than that, including planets, would be in that category.
Are you in that?
Reason they're basically factoring out the electromagnetic forces between things, and they're just saying, well, gravity does it on the big scale, and on the small scale, oh yeah, it's electrons. There's a force between the neutron and the proton, which is just explained thoroughly and very clearly. So listen to exactly what he said. Now, instead of testing me on what I hold on. Instead of testing me on what I heard. Would you like to respond to him specifically?
Yeah, Brummy.
of what he
Brummy, are you on that scale of things that are bigger than the electron and the proton and that 10 to the negative 10?
Yeah, but he just
I'll
said
answer
that
for
just
you. The
like
answer
I
is
did.
yes.
We already
Are
both already said
ants
yes.
on that scale?
We
The
both-
answer is yes.
We both already said
So
that. He
this
just
is
said that.
irrelevant to talk about unless you're only talking about things that are bigger than atoms.
No, listen,
Well,
Kosho,
shouldn't
this is the part.
electrostatics be figured into to everything?
Wait.
Like, why
Yes,
Exactly,
exactly.
yeah,
Kosho, that's the
exactly.
point. Can you respond to the point of the argument, dude? This is the point. If we know by looking at this on the small scale, okay, it's way stronger. Now they're saying, well, when it gets bigger, it's not stronger anymore. It just has to be bigger than an atom, and then the mass overtakes it because of gravity. And then when we weigh something, we're assuming gravity. So we just literally, this says right here, they just negate it. Meaning they don't actually negate it like literally. They don't control the variable. They just ignore it.
Like Kosho's doing. Kosho's
It
ignoring
says
you as well,
exactly
yeah?
what happened. It says the reason is that the lengths bigger than that scale, the charges cancel each other out, completely negating any point you're trying to make.
No, but
We are bigger
what
than that
charges,
scale.
What charges cancel
Everything
each
in
other
your
out?
world is bigger than that scale.
Does it have a resting electrostatic potential? Yeah, it does. And they don't account for it, Kosho. They just exclude it. They just don't even account for it. That's my whole point.
And why would you bring this paper up? How is that point in this
Because
paper?
this proves that we know that whenever we look
Like,
at the
what does that have to do
like,
with anything?
that in
We
the
talked
real
about that
world, when we
yesterday.
actually take the data of how strong something is, electrostatics is way stronger. But you just say that it disappears when it gets
Yeah,
bigger, and now we
No,
can
it
believe in
doesn't.
gravity.
No,
It's way
it's
weaker. We have
irrelevant. It
evidence
gets
for it.
canceled out.
So how come
If two charges cancel each other out, then that has no reference at all in any
Dude, if
equation.
it's
Explain how
neutral, it
gravity
still
gets
has a
stronger.
resting. Listen. If it's neutral, it still has a resting electrostatic potential. Do you not
Yeah,
know
the charge
that?
is canceled out, meaning there's a zero charge.
It's neutral, right?
Yeah, that means that it's zero.
But it
Zero
still
is
has
going
a
to be
resting
less than anything
potential
that
charge.
the gravity is going to be at that scale.
But it still has a resting charge potential, though.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because that
How's that
means
gonna display
that
itself?
any type of movement is going to cause it to increase in attractive pull, bro, or energy. Any movement.
Have you ever witnessed this anywhere in your world?
Electrostatic. So whenever you can use magnet.
you drive your car, for instance, is it way more?
I can move. What are you talking? This is about what weight is, bro. What do
Yeah,
you?
you
not
said that
understand?
there's a more attractive force now for some reason.
No, what I'm saying is everything has a resting electrostatic potential, but if you drop something, you're actually introducing movements to the electrostatic nature of the object, and that's going to increase in energy. And the only way that the electrostatics is going to work is it's effectively going to be a pull, although very weak, but much stronger than what they ever claim gravity is. But they just ignore it.
Then how come when you don't drive something laterally like a car, it doesn't weigh more?
Talk to Boeing.
Wait, why would it weigh more?
Just that if something's falling down, it's gonna increase the electrostatic charge. So how come it's not driving forward? It's not increasing this charge, increasing this attraction.
No, because I said it's it's incredibly weak.
You're criticizing people for saying they're misunderstanding things, but you've got a very shallow understanding of yourself.
You're both misunderstanding what the hell you're talking about. There's no reason to reference this paper and saying that that's evidence of any kind of electrostatic.
Kosho, let me ask you a stupid car question, dude.
You're talking about it being stronger on the Brummy. There's no reason, Brummy. There's no reason to talk over me when I'm responding to you, Brummy. This is the last thing I'm going to respond to you, Brummy. Yeah, you're right, because I'm trying to respond to the last thing you said. So I'm not going to be listening to what you're saying.
Let me just respond to Coach's little call.
So yeah, when you're bringing up something that says that on the scale of 10 to the negative 10, the size of atoms, that electrostatics is stronger than gravity, it has no reference or relevance in
it actually does,
explaining
because
why
I
gravity
explained
works
why.
in scales that we live on.
I explained why. So whenever you say that, well, the charges cancel, well, it's still neutral. It has what's called a resting charge potential. Now he asked, stop interrupting, man. And then he said that well, then if that's the case, how come when I'm driving a car laterally, then it doesn't weigh more? Shut up. Shut up.
Kosho, all you've got is criticism. Kosho, all you've got is criticism. Teach people. Kosho, all you've got is criticism. Why don't you just explain to people and flex your actual knowledge of your understanding of it, rather than sitting there saying you understand
absolutely, Bremen.
Go on and reflect.
I know you're a big dumb, so pay attention.
Kosho, this is the deal, dude. You
dude, Witsit, shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up, dude. I'm responding to what Brummy just said, dude. Sit down for a second. Sit down for a second, Witsit. I'm responding to what Brummy just said. Right, so there's no reason for you to listen to what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah, make sure you run away, Kosho.
Yeah, Brummy, the paper that he's posting, he's trying to describe it as claiming that for some reason this means that on scales on Earth that electrostatics are stronger. It states that nowhere in here. It says on scales the size of an atom, electrostatics are stronger.
Yeah.
It says that when scales become much larger than that, the charges cancel each other out, and so gravity is going to be much more relevant.
You explain to me how gravity gets stronger. Hold on. Explain how gravity gets stronger, and then the electromagnetic forces get cancelled out. Then, since you understand it so well,
I just told you that over larger scales, the charges cancel each other out.
Why?
Rendering them zero.
More charges with more.
So the gravity, the gravity which is going to exist regardless, the masses are what increase the magnitude in the gravitational force. It's going to obviously be much stronger than a value that's zero.
Okay, so you presuppose the force there. But wait, listen.
Yeah.
Dude, what?
Hold on. Hold on.
All right, this is
real quick. With more,
this is my thing. He's posted it and misrepresented what I've said about it, and then for 10 minutes I haven't been able to fucking clarify it. Okay, well, this is ridiculous. This is all Kosho can do is not let me talk about it because he's lying about what it is.
No, you can feel free to talk about it, man, but your own paper is refuting what you're saying.
No, it's not.
Which I wanted him to explain it so you could criticize what he's saying because you've seen the.
Yeah, but as soon as he explains it, and I go to respond. It's 5 other people talking the same time.
Okay,
and they're all flat earthers.
Go again. Just Kosho said that gravity becomes negligible and these electromagnetic forces fade out on the larger scale. So that's his understanding of it.
Right. So this is what Kosho's doing. He's just reading what the paper I gave him said, and he's acting like I'm stupid, like I didn't read it. Okay. But this is the deal. This is the deal. All you're doing is you're interpreting weight, right? You're going to measure weights. So all you're doing is interpreting weight based on the assumption that it's mg, okay? That's actually what's being challenged. What I'm explaining is that when we actually observe the resting potential on a small scale, we see it's way stronger than gravity ever claims to be. Now, they're claiming that it just cancels out, but when it cancels out, it's neutral. It still has a resting electrostatic potential that is way stronger than gravity because we don't have any evidence for gravity other than saying that when things fall, it's because of that. But what if you're not accounting for the electrostatic resting potential? Oh, wait, you're objectively not. They say it doesn't have to be accounted for because it's neutral, but it still literally has a resting potential. If you drop something, you've added movement to the electrostatic potential, increasing the energy output objectively.
Okay, and so what tool can I use to measure this value to show that it's actually going to be stronger than the gravitational attraction?
No. You need what device would I use to measure the gravitational attraction? What do you use to measure the
substantiate claim
gravitational
you just
attraction?
made.
What do you use to
Yeah.
measure the gravitational attraction?
You can use a scale.
You use a
Can I
scale.
jump
So
in
you
real
just
quick?
now said what
No,
I
wait.
just said. You have to just reify the connotation or denotation of W equals mg. You're so lost, it's laughable, dude.
Yeah, I
With
got a
more
question for you,
math,
Kosho.
with
So,
more-
what would you
with
use
more-
to
Why
get the
did you
magnitude
bring
of
this up? This is
the
hilarious.
resting
You're
electrostatic
presupposing
potential?
gravity, though, ain't you? You're presupposing
Hold
it.
up, Jeremy.
Yeah, his
Jeremy's
proof.
been
He's
trying to
saying,
get
how
away
would
from
I
guys.
measure and know it's stronger than the gravitational
It's
force that I
stronger.
haven't measured or proven that's there and is in contention? That's what he's saying.
No, I'm just asking if there's
Go
anything that
ahead.
you can measure the thing that you're inventing. Yeah, if you can measure that
I'm not
thing,
inventing
I'd
anything.
like to know what it is.
Yeah,
How else
anytime
do you do it?
something
All right.
falls, it's hey Zanik, Kosho, anytime something falls, that's electrostatic acceleration. So when we use a gravimeter, that's what you're looking at, dielectric acceleration. Yep, you're making you're using interferometry, right? And you're making an intersection. Yep, you're making a cross reference of the lasers. Okay, that's all that is.
Reifying it.
That's all that is. You're measuring the different rate of fall, and it's an electrostatic acceleration, a dielectric acceleration. You don't account for this. You don't negate it. Even at neutral, it still has a resting charge potential. You increase acceleration. You're going to add energy. It's going to act attractive. Gravity's nowhere to be found. But you say that phenomenon is attributed
So
solely
what
to
tool can I
gravity,
use to
and
measure this
that's actually
force?
what you're saying the proof of gravity is.
And that-
What tool can I use to measure this
Roger,
force?
and for me, the
I've got a
consequence.
question for you, Kosho. How else can you measure?
Jeremy's got a question. Jeremy's been trying to get in. But what tool can I use to measure this value?
Yeah,
I can answer that.
yeah.
Question. Why are you talking to Witsit again?
Yeah, let Jeremy go ahead. I already answered that question.
If you have an atom, you got to figure in the electrostatics. But then when you get more atoms, you suddenly don't need to figure in the electrostatics for it.
And do you remember why?
Yeah, because the charge cancels out, but it's neutral. It still has a resting charge
Cancel out.
potential.
Blah.
But it
Not
still
even
has a
that,
resting
Jeremy.
charge potential.
The atoms have different atomic masses. It depends on what atom it is.
Jeremy, chemistry
So
knowledge.
which atom is like the heaviest ones are still not strong enough, or what? At what point does the gravity get stronger than electromagnetic?
A simpler
He
way to
doesn't
do
know.
this.
He just read the paper and parroted it, bro. He doesn't know.
Simpler
You
way
guys
to
do
do this.
$20
Yeah,
now.
the same.
Yeah, one sec.
Guys all day.
Okay,
the same.
Kosho,
Guys,
everybody one at a
let me
time.
ask you 1 second. Look, Kosho, how else can you measure the gravitational force? How else can you do it apart from assuming gravity and the force on a scale? Is there any other way to measure it?
Sure. You can do something like the Cavendish experiment, where you have two masses and you
Measures gravity.
look at the attraction
Wait, how
laterally.
did you account for electrostatics in that?
You could account for it and make sure
No.
that it's not part of the equation. Absolutely.
Oh, so you
Did
did
you?
account for
Did
electrostatics in Cavendish? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry.
So they did account for electrostatics. Is that what you're saying?
Did Cavendish account for it? I mean, I'm sure people who've done it had accounted for it. I'm not sure.
You're sure that okay.
You're not
Well,
sure?
for one,
but
there's
Yeah.
no
Any-
p-value,
any-
which is a
any
probability of
proper
outcome.
scientist
So
would isolate what he's doing. So
I'm just going to dismantle this real fast. So there is no p-value, which is like your probability of outcome, right? So they don't even tell you how many times they mess up because it's such a delicate quote-unquote experiment that user error is assumed if you don't get the right results. They literally only cherry-pick the right ones, assuming user error every other time. In addition, they didn't account for electrostatics at all. They didn't even address it. No one that's done it since does address it. They haven't addressed it, and they're
device
arresting
used to
their
measure the
electrostatic
force in
potential on
the
every
force.
object that's a compilation of a matter. You lose. Try to bring up something else other than
right. I lose.
MG.
Can you go ahead and describe the tool that you use to measure the electrostatic potential or static potential?
Yeah. Well, I just now said that anytime you're measuring acceleration, all you're measuring is dielectric acceleration.
Yeah, I can
So
tell
you're just
you,
making
Coach,
something
I
up
can
and then-
actually- I'll just
No,
give
no,
you-
that means I have more proof than gravity does,
Fair enough.
bud.
You want me to just give you an answer?
Because we can actually look at the
Yeah.
atom scale and we can
Because
see
it
that there is
doesn't say the
electrostatic
one
charge.
answer,
Did
so
you
I'll
see the
just- I'll
gravity?
give you
Hey,
an
did you see
answer.
the gravity force on that scale?
Because Witsit for some reason doesn't want to.
No, you didn't see
Right,
it,
Daily
so
T.
I
I'm
win.
waiting
You
for
lose.
Witsit to shut up so Daily T can say what he's going to say.
It's actually torsion balance. The same torsion balance that was used to measure the electrostatic force was adapted for the Cavendish experiment. Imagine that.
Okay, so are you saying that they accounted for the electrostatic for the masses?
Yeah, if you had actually read the Cavendish experiment.
No, they
the original
didn't.
one,
No, they
you-
did. The masses?
Okay, so
Hey, let
just
him
not-
finish. I'd like to hear him.
Yeah,
So
no,
just
because you want to
not-
confirm your bias because
Shut
you're a
up. I'd
religious
like to
zealot.
hear him.
So just not.
No.
Wait,
I
wait,
said you're
wait.
lying. I know for a fact they did not account for the electrostatics of the actual
You know for a
masses.
fact?
You brought up the
Okay.
torsion bar. You brought up the torsion bar. That's
Let
not
me
the
go,
masses.
Let me go get.
Yeah. Why don't you go? Why don't you go get it? Why don't you go get it then?
Yeah, I'll get it from.
Yeah, I've
archive
already
order.
read it. You probably haven't. Go get it.
Oh, I haven't.
No, they did not account for electrostatics in the masses of the objects. That's a
How many,
fact.
how
So
many
you,
pages?
Just,
are
just
there?
answer
Can we
the
get a
question.
moderator to
It's
shut
so
this down for a second? I'd
simple.
like to hear this.
He's telling you daily, you just got smacked. You literally just got your ass slapped. You come in. Oh, the
Just
torsion
answer
bar.
the question. Did they account for the masses? Masses.
no, of course not.
They account for the masses in the Cavendish experiment?
Yeah.
Did they account for the electrostatic
Yes.
nature of the masses?
So
Masses.
that would be very poor planning if they didn't account for the masses.
Did they account for the
But
electrostatic
did
nature of the
they?
masses?
But did they?
The entire
Absolutely.
Witsit, all they
But
had to
did
do
they
is
account for the
ensure that the
electrostatic
entire,
nature of the
as
masses,
long
though?
as the entire assembly was grounded, Witsit, it would, as long as the entire assembly was grounded, you would ensure that there would be no electrostatic potential between the two.
Oh, that's wrong. You can't ground electrostatic potential out.
Of course you can.
No,
That's what
electrostatic potential is always there.
No, it's not. You'd have
yes,
to,
it
that would mean
literally
that you'd
is.
have to have more ions in one. You'd have to have more ions in one material than another, and then that would transfer a current. Yeah, it's
here's
just
the deal, my friend.
it's the same reason.
Electrostatics.
Why do you think
Dude,
people
you're
that
such a
work with
moron. Dude, you think if you ground something that it doesn't have electrostatic potential?
I can just overtalk you all day long too. I can just overtalk you all day long.
People just make up stuff.
In fact,
Witsit, it's better if we let people finish Witsit because you're spiraling right now.
I'm
So
spiraling
let
because
people-
people have like the fifth grade understanding of a textbook you can just regurgitate.
Why do people that work with electronics wear a wristband that discharges their electrostatic
right,
potential?
that's how you do.
Because it's going to help keep it in control. You don't eliminate the. See, where the fuck are you at now, you little bitch? Where are you at now?
And by the way, you're gonna get
Because he
now?
said something.
Jake,
won't let him respond. They're just gonna tell
Jake, very quickly, guys, very quickly. Let Witsit respond to the thing. Whoever's talking, stop talking for a second. Let Witsit respond to the thing that Jake, I guess you just asked him, but then don't forget the Daily T's got something he was gonna show. So. Give him a chance to do that in a second.
Yeah, it helps negate the factor of electrostatics. It doesn't completely remove the resting potential because that's impossible.
You're confusing electrostatics with electrodynamics. Electrodynamics is flowing current. That's what you seem to be talking about. Electrostatics is resting electrical potential that can never be gotten rid of because everything is always electromagnetic.
Yeah, if there's a flowing current, it's magnetism. It wouldn't be electrostatics. If there's a flowing current, it would be magnetism, not electrostatics.
So
Yeah,
you
we're
have the
talking about
paradigm as flowing
It would
electricity
be a magnetic field. It would be a magnetic field, then, not an electrostatic field.
No, the
So
dielectric
you're
field
covering
is
the flow with
magnetism.
electricity,
Okay.
but you're covering the flow
You guys
with
don't know what you're
electricity and the
talking about.
resting
You
potential
never
is
know what you're
magnetism.
talking
Literally
about.
don't know what you're talking about.
Guys, let's
Okay, then how
Literally
about you
don't know
debate
what
me
you're talking
1v1
about.
then? How about you debate me 1v1 about it then?
Sure. Let's talk about the.
Let's
Let's
do
talk
it
about
right
your
now
P
there, Mr.
factor.
Smart Guy. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now.
Oh, before you guys get
Let's talk about your P factor,
Daily
Mr.
Tuesday
Witsit, and how you don't even understand what P factor means in an experiment. Do you know
I
what P
said
factor means in an
P-value.
experiment?
P factor.
Yeah.
Potential.
Yeah, the p-value. Do you know what that means in an experiment? Well, what does it
Yeah, the
have a
probability
p-value?
about. I'm talking. I said specifically what I was talking about. The probability of
If you
outcome.
have a
You're
p-value of
looking. As soon
0.05,
as
what
I
does that
said, I
mean
bet
with
you
it?
can't debate me 1v1. He diverted.
We're
What a
debating right
clown.
now. We're debating right
No,
now.
we're debating about. You said that we don't understand anything. Okay, now let's talk about it then. The dielectric field is magnetism, dumbass. You don't understand what you're talking about. So please explain how you can separate them.
Settle down.
No, you said we are door
What
dog.
are
You
you
don't know what
talking
we're
about,
talking about.
Witsit?
Answer
You're
the
talking
question.
nonsense.
1v1.
Oh, now that's your
You're talking
response. You weren't talking about
nonsense, Witsit.
1v1. 1v1.
Yeah, so the dielectric field is intrinsically tied in with magnetism. Now, what you know is you have an incoherent magnet, or you have coherent magnetism. Those are your two options. You act as if incoherent means it doesn't exist. It's still incoherent magnetism. It's just weaker. It's not aligned, so it's not the same as a coherent magnet. Within the weak alignment, there's electrostatic potential, as is with any compilation of matter, and technically that is magnetism. It is not coherent, does not have autonomous field of perpetual energy because of the lack of molecular alignment. So we all know this is factual. Anything has a resting electrostatic potential. It cannot be negated if it's a compilation of matter. Any matter in existence.
All unified under electricity.
That literally meant nothing with it.
I think you're full of shit.
That's all you
It's
got.
all just unified under electricity. On your side, you're saying electricity that flows is an electric current. Electricity that still is magnetism. Witsit is saying it's all electricity. Electricity that flows is electric current. Electricity that still is electrostatic. And under electrostatic, you have magnetism anyway. When the field is properly aligned, it's an electrostatic, still stationary magnetic field. When it's not aligned, it's incoherent magnetism. It's just a different way of looking at the same thing.
Yes, electricity is actually
before anybody
the
dissects that bullshit or Witsit goes again after going before Lemon, let Daily T go through the thing he was going to say before. He's been patiently trying to
Yeah, I'm still downloading it, but you guys can continue.
All he's talking about is the torsion bar, not the masses themselves. So anyway, electricity is actually the combination, right? Like the reason that I make the distinction, it's not like I'm being semantic or pedantic or some shit. Like electricity is the hybrid. It's where you take coherent magnetism, like you have dielectricity and magnetism, and then you have put together, you get electricity. Okay, but when something is incoherent, it isn't electrical, right? But it's electrostatic. It's dielectric. It has a resting electrostatic potential. Electricity is in coherent movements. That is the difference. All you're doing is harnessing the movement or the electric nature of every compilation of matter or any energy input, and you're making it coherent. That's how we have electricity. So when something's resting and incoherent, it is still electrostatic inherently, or you would never have electricity. You would never have magnetism.
And that can't be factored out of the Cavendish experiment, so now we have a split in the road between saying that gravity is inherent to all matter and or that electrostatics or electricity or whatever.
So could you unpack
Wow, someone had to mute him. Someone had to mute him. No, not until you unmute, Lemon.
He keeps chatting on and he keeps adding to things that actually complicate you even further to the wrong.
Well,
So
basically,
what
what Witsit is saying. Here, I'll explain what Witsit is saying in plain language. What he's saying is because everything that's not a good conductor has a degree of dielectric to it, which means that it resists the current flow, but at a certain point it will cross over. If you get enough charge over it, and enough coulombs of charge over it, enough voltage potential, then it will cross the dielectric. So what he's saying is, well, because everything is a dielectric, then something can build up charge and not be able to discharge that because there's not enough potential, not enough coulombs of electrical potential to bridge the gap across the dielectric, across the insulator.
Right,
and
but
that's
it's still
basically
there.
what he's saying.
That's pretty well said, sure.
Because everything has capacitance to it, right? That's why a human can get electrocuted even when they're not grounded, because the human body itself has capacitance in it that can carry a charge that could cross your heart and can still kill you.
Exactly. Like it's
But the problem with this
it's very weak in
is it's so weak that it can easily be measured. And if it was a factor, it would be very easy to isolate out of the system.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I posted that picture. That's a misconception. It's very weak, but gravity's way weaker than that, dude.
Well, the thing that I saw Witsit
There
put
are
that.
arguments that are currently going on to say that that this could be potentially what near field gravity is. That has been postulated in the past. What I'm trying to understand from all the stuff that Witsit says is how are you applying Coulomb's force or Coulomb's interaction there? I don't.
Well, yeah, he just explained it. To get the electric potential, you're gonna have to increase coherency so much so that it actually crosses over to where it can, release electric charge. What?
Yeah, a dielectric is just an insulating material, or can be an insulating material.
Dielectric synonymous with electrostatic. Same thing.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, no, it's not synonymous with.
It is the same thing.
It's completely different. No, it's not.
That's where y'all are wrong.
Then I'm happy for you to.
But I agree that it's a common, like y'all are on the side of what most people think. Yeah, but I'm saying that's not what the father hands of electrical field theory said. So
no, electrostatic just means that.
I'm sure I didn't waste a couple of years of electrical engineering.
Well, no, you didn't waste it because they taught you things that we understand about how to harness electricity, but the very AC current that you learned how to use was created by a group of people Tesla created the generator. It was actually perfected by Charles Proto Steinmetz. There was a group of people. They all had the same understanding, and it's what I'm telling you people right now. Now, you've been taught differently,
yes,
just
that's
like
right.
people think that
Oxygen
magnetism
doesn't
doesn't
make things
exist
burn.
unless it's
It's logism.
coherent, right?
Logism
Just
is
like
what
people
causes
think
things to burn.
magnetism doesn't exist unless
Sorry,
it's
can you let
almost done.
Witsit finish this point, please? Because I want him to get to the end of it. Sorry,
This is similar to how when
So I
people...
understand about POTS, I understand about Tesla, I understand about the development of AC and how it replaced DC and how it fucked over Edison in a certain way. But
Edison asked for his help.
What I'm trying to understand is I understand about electrostatics, stripping irons, you know, and we can do that and we can see that. And I understand what I'm trying to understand from the point of view of Coulomb's interaction and Coulomb's force, which is how stuff sticks together. I'm trying to understand how you're applying this in relation to that. Now, if you're saying, well, that's the common thinking, and I have a different set of thought, cool. Is that
No. What if I take a balloon and I rub it on my hair and I stick it to the wall? Does that have anything to do with Coulomb's law?
Well, no, there's no Coulomb's law. There's Coulomb's interaction, isn't there? So that
okay, so it's is it a Coulomb's force when it sticks to the wall?
No, it's Coulomb's interaction.
Okay, so it is related to Coulomb's law.
No, Coulomb's
Don't we
isn't a
usually
law.
pronounce that Coulomb.
Yeah, it is.
You called it law 3 times.
Come on, dude.
Coulomb's
I mean,
isn't
it's
a law.
kind of indicative of somebody
you
who
said
doesn't
Coulomb's
actually
law about
use
3
it
times.
in any,
Says the guy who just now thought the
wider
torsion
context.
bar was synonymous with the masses.
Oh, I'm
So
I'm sure you
trying
just
to
said Coulomb's
understand-
law about 3 times.
So I shouldn't have said that. That was my mistake.
Can I say some? I actually really think he's wanting to understand you with it deeply. I actually do.
No, this guy's one of the cooler guys here for sure.
He's all
Yeah,
right sometimes.
exactly. I just want to make sure you understand that because he's always been super sweet, and if he wants to know something, he actually really will talk to me about it. So I love that.
So why
Yeah, well, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. They reverse engineered the electrostatic phenomena. Okay, that's all it was, dude. And they did it backwards. They do everything.
Where are you diverting from the classical view? Let's call it the classical view of electricity.
Okay.
With this thought.
Yeah, I'm
trying to understand.
Gotcha. They teach you about electricity. I almost went into electrical engineering, right? But they don't teach you about some of the base understandings leading up to how we understand electricity because they've changed over the years. Now, the people that came up with electricity the same very way that we know how to harness it today, they had a completely different interpretation than people do now. There's a plethora of reasons for this. Most of them attributed most of the phenomena of energy or electricity to the background. So if there is no background, we know it's different now, right? They also thought the electron was something different. Now, my point is the reason where I differ from mainstream now is because they say that basically it's a misconception that the only type of magnetism is coherence magnetism, like a real magnet that pulls things. That's the only type of magnetism. But it's literally not. There's also incoherence magnetism. Now, dielectricity is intertwined. It's intrinsic within magnetism. If something's incoherent, it has a resting electrostatic potential. If it's coherent, then it's different. You've aligned the molecular alignment. Now you have a coherent magnetic field. Okay, but that coherent magnetic field still has dielectricity. It's intrinsic. Okay, so you can't say that. No, the thing is that something that's an incoherent magnet, it still pulls. It still has an attractive pull. Right? Which technically things don't attract, they just accelerate due to pressure. But
one second.
You understand my point, though?
So, no, I'm just trying to break down. So you're talking about a magnet and a magnet being dielectric. Well, most magnets aren't. Most magnets will happily carry a charge through them. So they are a happy carrier of current, which if they were in a dielectric material, they wouldn't carry that current, would they?
Okay, but I'm using like dielectric to mean like the inherent electrostatic potential of a compilation of matter. That's why I explained there's numerous terms that are defined differently. Magnetism is the main one, so I'm not adhering to those connotations, right? Like dielectricity, I'm telling you how I'm using it. It's the same thing as electrostatics, right? And like it's so weak and so negligible that it doesn't really matter. Okay, but it is there, and it's way stronger than gravity even claims to be. Now, if you can't negate that, you can never claim that you've actually isolated gravity. It's lunacy. And to make it worse, what incoherent magnetism does is attract. So, and as the mass gets bigger, it has a weaker attraction. The Earth's very big, so we know it has electrostatic potential. It would have a very weak attraction just because of electrostatics. Just because of electrostatics alone, the Earth would have a very weak attraction. So where do we go from there? How do we now establish an additional attractive force? That's what we need to know. And the only reason that they say it's there is because for the Earth to be a ball, it has to be there.
But you're going back to sort of like thoughts from that were going around in the sort of 30s, 40s, 50s, aren't you? Where they were looking at that kind of potential as close field attraction to make it similar to the strong nuclear force that binds atoms together. So I kind of see where you're going, because I have seen stuff on that from the past, briefly. But again, you know, what all I'm hearing is this is a great replacement for how we observe gravity. Okay?
Yeah, but you're right. But this is the problem.
We still have the same effect. We still have that gradient in the atmosphere. It would still be pulling towards that.
You're right. But here's the problem. Here's the difference, bro. Is that with like gravity, its attractive strength is proportionate to its mass.
So here,
okay? But in electrostatics, it's disproportionate. It's literally the exact opposite. So it never loses its attractive pull in an incoherent magnet, but it gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And dude, the Earth is huge, dude. Okay, so when something falls, it's electrostatic, and it's falling to the ground. It's electrostatic. Again, negligible, especially because the Earth is so big. But the acceleration will inherently be dielectric or electrostatic acceleration. They claim acceleration is gravity pulling it down, though.
We're going a bit too fast and a bit too far. I'm trying to tackle a reasonable point at a time, and I don't want to take too long on the mic because I've already realised I've asked a number of questions, and thank you for replying. But again, what I'm trying to understand, okay, so this is another explanation that we have for what we're observing. So,
well, the phenomena will be different. I guess I didn't answer your question. Sorry, the phenomena is different.
No. The phenomena, you're saying that we're all saying the same thing, but you're interpreting the phenomena in this model. Now,
right. The difference is, though, they extend gravity to the solar system.
Yeah, and I just still want to get the point out. So do you think then the general kind of Newtonian mechanics, which kind of works nicely at our kind of scale of shit, is it kind of just pot luck that we got the right sort of numbers in there to have a predictive effect to what we see around us when we utilize them?
It's not really luck because it was created based on the observable phenomena, but yeah, we have a downward acceleration that's generally the same. And now what we know it is electrostatics. But, you know, he didn't know that. He just saw the phenomenon.
Yeah,
but the point is they extend it to space, dude. Like, this is the problem, right? They can't say it's electrostatics because incoherent magnetism gets weaker with the increase in mass, and that means it could never extend way out into space and pull giant masses around it. It would be super weak because they're giant masses. So they had to increase something. They had to create something that was the opposite of that.
Wait, Zanuck. Wait until you finish. Because what I'm liking about this is, regardless of whether I agree or disagree with Witsit, he's actually speaking at a rate that I can talk to
communicate with.
Yeah. And all that was happening before when you were talking together is you were both trying desperately, as quickly as you could, to get your points out, which means there was actually no point listening to anything that's going on because you were both moving past each other's points because bit of patience. I'm just trying to make a point. I think this is a really, really good point that you made.
Conversation.
I like where you're going with that. I will do one thing in the future because you reframe words that I use that have specific meaning in the industries that I kind of, well, not really in now, but used to be in.
Get to the point.
And that I will try and qualify better rather than making an assumption. Because I think
that's probably a big part I should work on too. Yeah,
okay.
Because I use these terms a little differently than you.
I'll leave it there. I'm not trying to get a gotcha or anything. I was trying to understand more of your point. It means I am going to have a better chance of beating the living crap out of you when I get annoyed with you.
We'll see.
Well, the thing is, you can get a general science can point you in the right direction, but sometimes the explanation that they have for why they're pointing you in this direction can be a little off. It would be like in this pained analogy that I'm about to try to use to illustrate it, saying there's some sort of terrible, smell emanating from this room. You go there and say, oh, there's these, smelly gnomes in the toilet, and you go there and you have the right place to look, like with science, but the explanation is a little off. Maybe it's microbes or something else. I think what's happening with the science now is we're still keeping the old explanations that really don't work. That kind of, guide us in a right direction-ish, but they're a little off. We may need to kind of tweak this a little bit.
So what Witsit is missing, though, in this whole electrostatic argument, though, is the fact that you do need a dielectric material, an insulating material that can lose electrons and not easily regain them back in order to build up a static charge, which is why when you do the traditional static charge experiments, you take a plastic rod and you rub it with a cloth, right? Which is you're rubbing it with two insulating materials, which can then trade off electrons that aren't easily absorbed back, right? So you can build up a voltage potential across them. But if you take the Cavendish experiment, which I know Cavendish took great pains not to have any electrostatics, by running a wire and through the entire assembly was grounded. All the balls in his assembly were grounded to one another, so that any type of voltage potential could easily flow between the two balls, so they would have equal electrostatic potential, which means there would be no attraction. There would be no electrostatic potential because the electrons can freely move around conducting materials. If the entire assembly is wired conductively, it doesn't matter because they're metal. They're
How would it not matter?
The masses are metal. They're made of conducting materials, and the entire torsion balance and everything was grounded by a wire.
How would the amount of matter not matter? You're saying that they would equal out, so that wouldn't matter, but the amount of matter does matter.
They cannot build an electrostatic because they're connected to each other with freely conducting materials. So any type of electron imbalance would be immediately, any type of electron imbalance would be immediately moved around.
Okay, there's no fluctuation in it at all.
Oh, I see.
I understand what he's saying. I understand what it is.
Jake, I see the problem. Jake, I see the problem.
No, Zanik, you never see the problem.
The mass doesn't change this electrostatic force at all. You also say.
Well, why are you so obsessed with math?
How mass doesn't change the attraction.
Okay, the Cavendish doesn't even show a consistent attraction, though.
It did. Actually, it did.
No, it doesn't. Because when it doesn't, you just throw it out, assuming user error.
Don't change the subject.
You've never done it, Zanik.
The mass doesn't change the electrostatic force.
Okay, actually, your electros. Now you're saying when they're grounded together. I understand what you're saying. Well, I understand what you're saying. Zanik, all you ever do is make the conversation worse. That's all you ever do.
Why is there inverse square inverse and inverse cube?
He doesn't listen. He just responds. That's all that Zanik does.
He already knows what he's gonna say. He doesn't matter what I say.
Yeah. Wait for
I'm
you to start
very
talking.
attentively.
And
You said
even do that.
that the mass. You said, why does the mass change it? Why does the mass have anything to do with it?
Okay, if you're grounding them all together, then you can say that it would equal out amongst it, okay? But in general, it would. I've already explained why, because in fact, it's the inverse of what they claim gravity is, and as you increase the mass, you actually have a disproportionate relationship with the strength of pull. I've already explained it 5 times. Zanik, I think it's best that you please don't come in here trying to make me mad, bro. I'm trying to say real cool. The point is here that they reverse engineer the phenomena of downward acceleration. Everything that falls to the ground is electrostatic. The Earth is electrostatic. These are both objective things. Doesn't matter what you people say about it. But the problem is that doesn't actually explain how the Earth could be a heliocentric model or explain the solar system at all, because you actually need something to be pulling it. And as you increase in the mass with these giant bodies, which they have to be giant because we don't ever see the sky move. They have to be giant and super far away, right? Because it keeps on resetting every year. So it has to be giant and big far away. So then now that it's really giant bodies, because it literally has to be to even postulate it, we need the strength to actually increase proportionate to the increase in mass, because giant bodies are having to pull each other over vast distances of space. Electrostatics will never work because inherently it's the exact opposite of that. So they proposed gravity, but they never actually found it. They never actually proved it. And you can't negate for the resting electrostatic charge potential.
Yeah, I've got a problem with you say that it resets itself every year, because it doesn't. We observe precession. Okay, we observe precession of the equinoxes. So
which way does the sky precess?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's always going east, right?
Years. Yeah,
it's always going east, and then the center precesses a little bit too, right? But it's just going closer and closer to the center, almost as if
No. Do you know what the precession of the equinoxes are?
Yeah, there's a differential over time. That's what you're claiming.
No. Do you know what the precession of the equinox is?
What is it?
You know now we're in the age of Pisces. And we're on the cusp of moving to the age of Aquarius. Do you know why we say that?
Yes, but dude, because there's a precession on the constellations relative to our times, bro. But the point is that the sky itself moves east to west and comes back every year.
Okay, can I just unpack that for you? Because I didn't want to assume you didn't know it. I don't want to, talk to you like you're an idiot or anything. I'm trying to get your point of understanding. So, midsummer, we observe the sunrise, and behind it is a constellation. So at the moment, that constellation is Pisces. And that's why we talk about the different ages. So that slowly rotates, and that's based upon the rotation, or, in the globe Earth heliocentric model. That's based on the rotation of the axis of the Earth, which also spins in a circle a bit like a spinning top.
Okay, but how is what I said not right, bro?
Because you said it resets itself every year. And
the sky comes back and starts back where it started every year.
No, it doesn't.
It's just a little bit different over the course of time. Of course it is. But of course it is.
It was a pedantic point, I know, but it doesn't reset.
But it comes back every year. It comes back and it comes back and it comes back and it comes back for thousands of years. And it just looks a little different. But their actual relative location to one another stay the same. And that's why they say that the universe has to be extremely big. Yes, it does.
No,
that's your model. Did you do realize that's why that the planets have to be so big and far away, right? Because the lights in the sky don't really move.
And the constellations
that's why they have to be so big and far away too, bro.
Because they are changing to our perspective.
Yeah, but they change relative to one another, though.
Perspective.
They do. We can see that right.
I know, but it's like that word doesn't work for flat earthers. When flat earthers use the word perspective, it doesn't matter. But when you use it, it's totally reasonable, totally acceptable.
Because they're using it in the proper context. When you use it, it's wrong.
And it suits you.
Anyway, dude. So the point is, the reason that they have to say this is the same thing they have to say with the magnetic field. Okay, they have to say the Earth can't have a permanent magnetic field. The core doesn't act as a permanent magnet because, well, even though it does have the characteristics of one. Because, well, it couldn't do that with what they say the core is made of and what the outer core is made of. I sent the link earlier yesterday. It's from Harvard. Okay, so they explained the Curry point how, well, it couldn't be a permanent magnet. It says that on like page 3. No, it cannot be a permanent magnet. Okay, so what they have said is that it just observes. It looks like a permanent magnetic field, but it actually, you just wouldn't see the difference or change, right? Because it takes billions of years, right? It would take millions and millions to see a change. And this is why they have to say the Earth, one of the reasons why they have to say the Earth is so old. This is now this goes back to, they have to say the stars are so big and so far away, and that the planets are so big and so far away because of the lack of change for relative position of the stars year to year. They have to say it because it appears to be basically static, meaning that they, not literally static, but static relative to one another. They keep their same fixed positions in our sky relative to one another for year after year after year. So what they're saying is the only reason it looks like that is because they're so far away and so big, because they can't be far away without being so big, so that we don't see the difference.
Convenient.
I thought they determined it by parallax initially for near objects, and you can tell the near objects.
They can't even postulate heliocentrism without saying that they're far away and big, dude.
Right.
They couldn't have been postulated in the first place.
Parallax to find out the objects that are nearby to Earth.
You can't say the Earth's a ball without assuming everything is big and far away in the very first step, dude.
We start from small to big, so we do measurements in the solar system.
No. Your first story is Aristophanes, right? Your first story is Aristophanes, right?
Shut up! I'm talking, sir.
Pythagoras, if we're going to do that.
You're coming in very low, man.
You start. Okay. Well, that means you just should talk over me. That makes it much better, right?
You're talking a little off.
So we start off small, measuring mountains and things in the distance, and we look at parallax. How does parallax work? And then we take it further out to mountains in the distance. Then we take it out further than that. We find out that we measure things like the moon, and we can verify that with radio measurements. And we find out that things are 200,000 miles away. And then we go off of Venus. And we say, hey, you know what? Parallax says it's this far away, and radio says it's this far away. So we've got confirmation, and it's not based upon us trying to say that these things move so slow so they must be far away. No, it's based on parallax and first principles.
You're wrong.
Okay,
so
that was well
so
done.
actually what happened, you're scattergunning, dude.
That's one point he made. It was a justification of why parallax has validity.
Okay, so actually what he said was that's why they decided how far away they were. That's fucking wrong. You can't even postulate helios. You literally can't even postulate it. Yeah, that means you can't even propose it theoretically until you assume vast distances and big bodies. That's just a fact. This starts with looking at the sun. You have to assume the sun is very far away, thus very big, and it has parallel rays. You literally cannot even start the heliocentric postulation without acknowledging vast distances, dude.
I don't have a problem with vast distances because, there are vast distances.
Well, okay, but he was just arguing the point he shouldn't argue, dude.
Away, so
but he was arguing the point he shouldn't have argued, dude. He should have just conceded that.
I suppose I just want to go back. I just wanted to ask one quick question, and again, I don't want to move on from this or dive down this rabbit hole. So it's an isolated question on its own. Are you a young Earth creationist?
I don't make claims as to how old the Earth is, but I wouldn't feel comfortable even entertaining at this point with the current information anything over 10,000 years. So yeah.
So you are a young Earth creationist.
Relative to the fairy tale of 10,000 years, that's a long time. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if you want to call that young, but yeah, relative to the pseudoscientific fairy tale of billions of years, of course, yeah.
To me,
There's trees that's older than that.
That's modern.
There are trees that's older than that. That's a cool story.
The trees about 9,000 years.
Yeah, there's trees. There's trees about that.
There's 9,000 more than 10,000.
Well, tree ring data. Tree ring data
just made up 10,000 for no reason.
Guys, I didn't want to dive down that rabbit hole because it's not pertinent to the conversation.
It's fucking pseudoscience, dude.
To know moving forward because again,
dude, guys, think about this is such a crazy world where this is my honest opinion. What a crazy world where if you don't believe for a fact the Earth is 4.6 billion years old, that you're the dumb one. Like what the bro?
Yeah, no.
There's plenty of people who don't believe that, and I don't think they're dumb.
I got news for you.
That's such a stupid thing to go around and act like that's a fact. So stupid.
Not many people do. I mean, that's not a dumb thing. There's probably scientists who disagree with that. So
it's not even close.
But we need a witness. There's nobody around.
I've disproved that to you because you told me how old you think. It's safe to say it's X amount.
No. Not everybody. I'm just saying like I'm talking like the world in general, man.
I just want to do this as a bit of constructive advice because the way you've been interacting is really good, and I know that you react when you feel you're provoked. We all do, but I would really stop with the kind of invectives, poisoning the well in your conversation, because actually it doesn't help your argument. And if you slow down a bit and use better pace of words, it's going to come across a lot clearer. And then you won't feel like you have to go wandering around in a circle before you get to your point.
Yeah, I'm trying to make a bigger point here.
I'm just trying
to make a bigger point. Like I'm not trying to come at anyone specific or whatever. I mean, you can give examples all day, right? Like the same thing with evolution, right? Like the mainstream consensus, or at least how it would be portrayed, is that what you don't know evolution's real, right? And I just look at that the same way too. Like, wait, you don't think the Big Bang is real? Like, those are really crazy, unfounded, pseudoscientific postulations that in no way can be verified at all. They're actually quite preposterous on their face. And when they were created, it was known that it was a complete grasp at Straw's theory. And yet you fast forward to now and people think that we know for a fact we came from monkeys and rocks and that we came from...
Evolution is a fact, okay? Evolution is defined as the change in allele frequency within a population over time. That's an observed fact. What you're objecting to isn't evolution. You're objecting to common descent, which is sub to evolution.
I'm not trying to be semantic. We all know what we're talking about,
don't we?
I always thought Darwinism.
Did evolution claim that we came from frogs or anything like that?
I didn't say frogs.
You did. You said monkeys and frogs.
I said monkeys and rocks.
Same shit. It's the same shit though. You think you come from a fish?
I said rocks, not frogs.
It is the same shit.
But do you know why I said rocks?
It's the same.
Do you know why I said rocks?
Brummy, it's not the same shit because the reason it's not the same shit It's a bit like saying that my auntie is your mum when that's not
Let me
true.
ask you a question. Let me ask you a straight question. Was there a time when we was actually fish swimming in the water?
Yes, we have that.
Okay, so yes, so we came from
No,
fish.
no. Then we
was Jaffa cakes.
Us living in the water is not us being fish living in the water.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Listen, we have a concept. Hold on. Don't talk over me. I've been nice and quiet. I've been nice and quiet the whole time. The question is, there was one point where we was a fish. There was a point where we was a land animal. There was a point where we was a fucking Jurassic rat. If you follow the bloodline back long enough, we did transform from one thing to another. So you saying that evolution isn't coming from a frog? We actually do come from different animals completely. Yeah, it is.
That's the part you're getting wrong, bro, man. By saying that we were rats is wrong. By saying that we were fish is also wrong. We may have lived in the water, and we may have been things that resemble rats.
No, Kosher, they showed us a picture, and it was like a fish, dude.
Evolution doesn't claim that one species can turn into another species. Evolution claims that one species will evolve into a new species.
Okay,
I've told you this
say that we looked like a fish back in the day, dude. But what I said was frogs. I didn't say frogs. Listen. This is the most important part, though. I said rocks. Do y'all know why I said rocks?
Because you can't
this is the most important part.
In with evolution, which again.
Oh no, you want to act like it's not involved. You want to act like it's not involved, but how do you explain? How do you listen? How do you logically listen? How do you logically postulate evolution without addressing biogenesis?
How can you
And
possibly
we had this
use,
conversation already.
How can you possibly use electricity without understanding where things get charged from?
Posited organic materials on the Earth.
That's a good question. Well, the reason that you're able to use electricity can I answer his questions? The reason you're able to use electricity without knowing where it comes from is because the father has of electrical field theory did know where it came from. And you still use their technologies.
Witsit.
He's like rock people.
Thanks for trying to say something. Yeah.
You mean rocks from space?
I'm not specifying. Right, I'm just saying, I'm saying that if you, it's the point is you have to address abiogenesis. You have to stake that claim. Evolutionists, quote unquote, they want to distance themselves from it and say it's non sequitur to the conversation, and it literally is not. Just like when I debated the evolutionists, that's what she tried to do. That's what she tried to do, right, in her presentation, and I didn't bring it up out of respect. I didn't even bring it up because you don't have to defeat evolution. It's fucking laughable. But the point is that when I debated her, which she, this is like an expert, right? She has all
poisoning the well.
No, I didn't.
Well again. Hey, Witsit.
Okay.
Those are two different ideas, man.
You question things as simple as celestial body distances. How do
you think that I'm dumb for questioning evolution, Zanik?
How do you question?
Oh my God, evolution is dumb. Evolution is dumb. It will go down in the history of mankind. Listen.
Period.
Guys, Zanik, here's the deal, my friend. General relativity.
Guys, you're both talking over Zanik, and then one of you guys has to respond. But you both
general
are talking
relativity,
at the same time.
evolution, the Big Bang Theory, they will all go down as the dumbest postulations in history of mankind.
Show that the validation that we've used to demonstrate the distance from the Earth to the Moon is not true.
See, this is all Zanik ever does.
No,
he just changed the point,
you said
Zanik.
it was made up. You said it was assumed.
I know, but Zanik, you gotta not chase after every shiny thing. You gotta. You guys were just talking about evolution, then I heard you just talk about the moon for some reason.
Well, because he rolled into evolution from the universe.
Someone just threw in the moon thing in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Zanik, all you ever want to do is jump in and fucking read the script you've predetermined. That's all you ever wanted to do.
I heard your script. You said that all these
just make sure you're focusing on one thing.
Are assumed they had to be so far away because we
can't. All right, so does anybody want to address the fact that obviously intrinsic within the postulation of evolution, you have to address abiogenesis?
It's been addressed already. He's already said it's not involved. There's different ideas, so
no, but they're not though, because it's addressing that organic life can't come from organic life, or that biogenesis is that organic life can only come from other organic life. Abiogenesis is saying that isn't the case.
There's people in the chat. There's people in the chat that just want you to allow other FE also to respond, because right now you're the only flat earther responding.
Wow, dude.
There's no reason.
We've already been down this how many times.
So the Genesis could be an I don't know, or it could be God. Who cares?
Well,
so
if
no,
it's an
the
I
point is
don't
you're
know,
saying
you can't talk about claiming evolution. We went through this before, and
Yeah,
the turtles, and you guys brought up how turtles, wait, Danik, stop it. You brought up how turtles exist and how they were going back in time, and they've turned into something else. But it's a DNA hypothesis. You have no proof. It's just literally a theory. There's never been a time in human history, that you've ever seen a species turn into another species, and you never will. And when you go backwards, you get to the point of what? The Big Bang? Because that's as far as you can go back and you don't know where you came from. Of nothingness? Come on.
So what? What's wrong with
No, Mike, that's not. I think Dress. Somebody's got. Because you said a couple of points. I think
evolution was proposed to explain what existence without a creator.
We have seen speciation. That's definitely been observed. We've seen that in birds. We've seen that in bacteria. I think the problem is people get triggered with the sort of, they expect a species to be completely different, like a new genus, not a new species.
Well, over billions of years, it's completely different species.
Yeah. So
okay, that's the problem.
Yeah. So would you say that a blackbird and a magpie are different species?
Do you guys even understand what his whole thing? I'll post it for you. The theory of a whale evolution. Even do you understand what he said about this? And then I heard the other day, oh, we're getting it all wrong. The books had him wrong. So now we're getting the person who made up this bullshit wrong? Come on.
This is the point. This is an attempt to explain existence without creation. It's an attempt to explain existence without creation. And y'all can say
we're
it's
trying
not,
to address
really
Stacy's point real quick. What's it?
Oh, yeah. God forbid I just expose all this bullshit.
Address both y'all points at once.
Yeah, God forbid I
But yeah, Stacy, I'm not sure. The evidence you saw could be very valid. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that the evidence for the whale from dog thing, it has a lot to do with the bone structure of a whale and the fact that it is a mammal, but it supposedly has legs still. I didn't even notice that whales have legs. They just, or leg bones, I guess.
It's about the hip bone. The hip bone.
Used. Yeah.
This evidence for evolution, especially from DNA, is not coming together with the philosophy, the Far Eastern philosophy of evolution, which basically says divine simplicity, that all is one and there are no real distinctions even among different animals. We're seeing that these common, traits like these fins that look like a human arm come from different genetic sequences and different genetic areas of the DNA code. So they can't have come from a common ancestor off of that basis alone. And there are other, problems mathematically. Evolution doesn't work with the mathematical models, at least the ones that they have on file, about how long it takes for a mutation to set within the population. Like from the last ancestor that they think that we diverge from to us humans, there's not enough time for the mutations to set. There's other problems with evolution.
Try to make one point at a time. One point at a time, man.
Amino acids, proteins, every single part of it's bullshit. And this was an attempt to explain existence without a creator, and now you're trying to say it doesn't matter if you have to acknowledge abiogenesis or not? That's a laughable.
No, that's not what anybody said. They're saying that evolution and abiogenesis are two different ideas. They're not.
But what I'm saying is this is an attempt.
You have to connect them and say that.
No, because this, dude, evolution is an attempt to explain what inhabits the earth without design, bro. And if you're going to do that, then you're going to have to absorb that means that you're going to have to stake abiogenesis.
Why do you think that evolution denies design?
When I said, I didn't say it denies it. I said it's an attempt to explain it without it.
It has to deny design.
I didn't say it denies design. I said it's an attempt to explain what inhabits the earth without acknowledging design.
You don't need abiogenesis to have evolution. You could have God and the Bible and still have evolution. Okay, you could say that life has always existed and has never not been there, and evolution would still exist.
You can't have
you don't have to have abiogenesis. Abiogenesis is a separate idea that explains the origin of life.
That's pantheism.
Evolution is something different. Explain the evolution of life.
That's pantheism. That's irreconcilable with the Bible, and it was erected as an alternative to the Bible because the West wanted to run away from God and the Scriptures. It's just a just so far east divine simplicity philosophy.
You people actually think evolution is legit? Dude, it's known to be the most shaky, quote-unquote, theory that exists. And you people act like it's a definitive fact or
citation
something.
or evidence for that, please.
Yeah, all you need to
dude, just go
substantiate
talk
evolution.
to all the people that like literally specialize in it, and they know that they don't know for a fact what's going on. They make shit up every day, dude. Whether they make up new stories every day, dude.
Did you see that article a couple years back where they were literally saying that they tested out how many species and stuff of animals and stuff, and they ended up saying that they were all here put at the same time?
I haven't seen that.
Did you read that?
I'd love to see it though, but yeah, for evolution, like people, like it makes it seem complicated or something. But all you need to have evolution is genetic mutations, which I hope nobody in here disagrees with, because that's the absolute fact that there's genetic mutations.
It's the fact that a mutation will actually give you a physical superiority.
That would be ridiculous. Don't embarrass yourself, Witsit. That would be ridiculous to claim that.
So mutations result in physical superiority.
It's observable on every scale, but that's not the point. All you need is genetic mutations.
Give me one scale it's observable on, then.
Human life.
Okay, so what human life? What mutation gives a physical superiority?
There's no point in going over that. Just don't embarrass yourself.
What mutation gives a physical superiority?
Do you think he minds embarrassing himself, man?
What mutation gives you a physical superiority on the human scale, Kosho?
What are you talking about?
You're just making that up.
What kind of relevance does the question have?
Well, you're claiming that repetitive mutations have resulted in physical superiority.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well,
I'm
you're
just saying
saying
that mutations exist. I haven't even said my second point yet.
No, you said that they exist.
All you need is genetic mutations, and then you interrupted me.
Guys, one second. Witsit, let him make his second point. I would like to address the superiority question.
Yeah, that'd be fine. All you need is genetic mutation, which like I said, is a fact. That sounds like you agree with also. And then I was like, yeah, right. And all you need other than that is the fact that offspring will often have the genetic mutations. The offspring will be different from the parent, and then time. That's the only thing you need. And evolution is a logical conclusion.
No, it's illogical because it says mutations result in physical improvement. It's the exact opposite of logical. It's a grasp at straws attempt to explain a manipulation and a drastic change within a genetic sequence. And they still can't even make the math work, assuming mutations are physically beneficial. And they can't even mathematically make amino acids work. So your people are acting like it's a proven fact, and it hasn't even been able to be explained theoretically with math yet.
Evolution is a proven
I know
fact.
Dress wanted to respond.
Real frequencies within a population over time. So that's an observation. So the problem I've got with is with your.
Dress, you were quiet. The first thing you said was quiet. You just got to repeat the first thing you said again.
Oh, sorry. The change in real frequency within a population over time is an observed fact. That's evolution.
You just said it. You said it quickly that time. That's the problem. You just say it really
sorry.
fast.
Don't worry about it. I shouldn't have dived at the shiny thing.
Easy.
Not a valid point.
So superiority. Why are you invoking superiority and evolution in the same phrase?
Yeah, physical improvement.
No.
What's
that's
evolution compared to devolution?
Well, the person that actually proposed the mainstream narrative was literally an ethnic supremacist, so I guess we can use supremacy if we want to.
No, he wasn't an ethnic supremacist.
Yes, he was.
Actually, don't lie.
No,
I wouldn't even go down that path,
supremacist.
You're right what you're saying, though, Dress.
So the problem I've got with your argument about superiority is that's nothing to do with evolution. Evolution merely states that an organism needs to be plastic to its environment.
Okay, when does mutation result in physical improvement?
What do you mean
Evolution.
by improvement?
Improvement.
Deficiency is devolution. Improvement is evolution.
And you understand that the mutations don't have to be. There's no law that says mutations are going to be an improvement.
But you said there was
most likely, most often not an improvement.
Please define devolving. When something devolves.
No, what happens when there's not an improvement is those things are not going to be successful, and so what happens is the result is you don't see them.
So when do mutations result in a physical improvement? No, it hasn't. You're skating past it. You're just saying there's no law that says it can't happen.
Shut the fuck up and let me finish my point,
if it's not visible, then it's not a
please
phenotypical
let me get my point out.
mutation.
I'm being really impatient here. So the problem I've got is there's nothing in evolution that says evolution is a hierarchy. It's a ladder moving upwards towards something. All evolution.
The word evolution means to evolve.
Let him finish, man.
Compared to devolve.
This is how
thank you for that lesson. Now, let the first finish, man.
This is how dumb evolution is.
All evolution is being fit for purpose. and the fittest for purpose in its environment is the thing most likely to pass on its genes.
Is that ever physical improvement?
If you're lucky enough to get a mutation that suits you, so there's a change in environment, and you're slightly darker than all the people around you, and that's an advantage. Therefore, you're more likely to pass your genes on. Therefore, that trait is more likely to persist. That's all it is.
But that isn't all evolution is. Evolution makes drastic physical improvements.
Hold on, Lemon. Let what's it? He's waiting to respond, but then you respond after him.
That's not all evolution is, because evolution claims drastic physical improvements from species to species over time. So thus, inherently, you're claiming that the mutations result in physical improvement. That's what evolution is. Are you saying evolution isn't the ability to better traverse and inhabit the climate and physically improve?
That's why I'm
I got a
asking
citation
for it,
right
because
here.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, the American Dictionary for the English Language, special definition, biology.
That's a
devolution. Devolution or degeneration, the evolutionary decline or loss of a function, characteristic, or structure in an organism or species.
Yep. Which may make it more fit for its environment, like a creature that lives in caves that might get rid of its eyes and therefore not need to spend the energy producing them.
Okay, fine. Here's another.
Peacock's another example of something.
Definition from Collins English.
No, don't read any more definitions, man.
Impairment or loss of the function and.
Thank you for reading the word de-evolution for us,
by
man.
Disease or injury, often leading to death.
I don't care about any of
No,
that.
nobody wants you the definition of de-evolution.
I want the citation from Witsit's point. Witsit provides the evidence for your point.
That evolution claims that there's a physical improvement over time. That's what evolution means.
So I want to provide that citation.
But are you saying that
I get what you guys are saying. We all do here is how species evolve. Birds with another bird, and it sings another way, and it now looks differently.
No.
It's still a bird, same species. How did you evolve from a worm? How did we all get here? Where did we evolve from?
Where's the intermediate species? Why are there not still intermediate species?
He's arguing against natural selection. I don't understand it.
Well, you guys are saying different things, so people responding to you.
That's what the Glow Brothers do every time I come in here.
Well, you've made a fallacy of composition because you say just because species change, they can go back to this, common ancestor that they changed from. That's a fallacy of composition. Things may change within their, say, design, but within very limited parameters that break with the notion of divine simplicity from the Far East that says that we're ultimately all the same substance and there's no distinction. That's a bit of a bridge too far of a philosophical debate.
Said this exact thing earlier, so I'm going to respond to Witsit, the first of the four of you who spoke up and addressed.
Respond to my point, so yeah.
Lemon, please hold on. I'm going to respond to Witsit, who spoke first before the other three people who spoke. I'm just going to say that there's plenty of examples of things that evolved and are still alive today that didn't get there from being superior in any kind of way other than maybe something like a physical attraction, like a peacock or something like that. There's nothing about a peacock's appearance that makes it superior than other animals in any kind of way. It makes it so that they're more likely to mate and reproduce, which is
so that is productive.
You'll get this.
So
Why
natural selection doesn't exist.
That is
Did you
natural
guys touch on irreducible complexity?
Where are the intermediate species? Where are the intermediate species, though?
Species that are like most survivable to survive.
The most likely to reproduce.
That allow them to survive in whatever habitat they have.
Surviving is just half of the equation. Reproducing is the most important part of the equation.
Where's the intermediate species, though?
The ones that survive have the best chances of producing.
Well, why don't we see intermediate species, though?
We do.
Population. Like what?
Everything on Earth.
Name no. Oh, so that's your answer. So you can't point to a specific intermediate species where we can see it's actually. Whoa. I'm clarifying.
Go on. Sorry, what's it gone?
I'm just clarifying what I'm asking for. An intermediate species where we can actually see it's in the transition period of one species to another species. Because for one, basically, this is what y'all claim, that we came from Neanderthals, but the Neanderthals all died in the human state, and there's none of them still turning into them.
Nobody claims
so there aren't intermediate species anywhere. What do we claim?
Neanderthals, monkeys, and apes.
No, there's black people like me who don't have any Neanderthal DNA in my body. There's people who live in Northern Europe who have 2 to 5%.
Did you come from apes?
Okay, so
did you come from apes?
Come from Neanderthal. We mated with them.
Okay, did you come from apes?
We are
if
apes.
you ask them, they'll say
Go ahead,
chimpanzees are in
Which
the
ape did you
intermediary
evolve from?
stage.
Which
So it
ape?
doesn't matter what they
The
say.
gorilla? The chimpanzee?
Wait a
My
minute.
point is,
Then
there
why do
would
we
be
still
some
have apes? Why haven't
half
they
ape,
evolved
half
into
humans
humans
still here.
like us?
There would still be half ape,
Come
half
on.
humans, though, bruh.
Yeah, we are.
Because it takes
Right.
millions of
families.
years.
We're in the same
Millions.
families now.
Can you?
No. We're the ones in between, though. We still have apes. We still have people. We're the intermediate ones because it takes
We're the
millions of years. You
yep.
said.
The Minotaur. It had to
Right.
be the Minotaur.
The word you're looking for is common ancestor. The common ancestor
what I'm
is
looking
an
for is
ancestor and
intermediate
they're dead.
species.
No.
It's
Wait
like
a
a
minute, though. Wait a
contest
minute.
for stupid
Wait,
people.
we're still you're
Oh, what's
forgetting
yeah,
though,
stupid
Coach
people that are claiming
We're
evolution is like
still-
real.
Also, you have a problem here.
Irreducible complexity. Any one of you, go.
Yeah, where are the answers for Homo sapiens?
I said there's now five of you.
Score.
There's now five of you flat earthers. You guys can't all make points at the same time.
Irreducible
Are
complexity
we-
should be easy. Go.
Are we still evolving?
Yeah, Stacy. Yes. And I'm gonna let
If
Jess
we're still
continue
wait,
this,
if we're still evolving, then why aren't there other ones that are before us that look a little different here right
Stacey, I wanted to
now? Why are
respond.
apes
I
not
wanted to
changing?
respond. Yeah, I want to respond what you just asked, but I'm gonna let Jess continue. I was just saying that was the point that I made earlier about having genetic mutations and offspring. That's all that you need to have evolution, and that's a very slow. That's like a very tiny part of the process, and so that we can see in all different people. The doctors can like see in the children of offspring and see that there's.
We're the ones between the
some
apes
sort
and the
of genetic
people, then,
mutations.
Kosho.
And so that's all. That is an example of witnessing it happening in real time.
Kosho,
You're
it's
not
very
gonna-
simple what
you're not
you're
going to
being
expect
asked,
to see an
dude. It's very
intermediate.
simple
You're not
what
going
you're
to
being
expect to see an intermediary step or something like that. That's not.
Okay, now I see what you're saying, Coach. So because the process is so long, you're not like it's not like we're gonna be.
No, it's not because
for
the
20
process
years.
is so long. It's because it's always an intermediary step.
Yeah.
It's always
Okay.
happening.
Okay. So this is the
Right.
problem because there's a whole intermediate phase that took millions of years for us to get here, and it came from apes. We still have apes. We only have humans. But if it took millions of years and we're still evolving, some of those apes are still evolving, and there would be an intermediate species.
Middle school, man.
Correct.
Interesting for you to talk
That's
about.
the point. Is they all are intermediary
If you think
species.
evolution's real because you learned it in middle school, it just shows your competence capability.
Hold on.
Hey, go ahead, Jess. I'm sorry.
Kosho, then where are the Homo erectus, man?
Percentage. Hold on one sec. So the problem I've got with this is, there were ape-like creatures. We have ancestors to us that we're saying are these ape-like creatures, and we share some common bonds with other primates like chimpanzees, bonobos, and gorillas, and various other things, which are fairly close-ish kind of cousins to us from what we observe in the DNA, and also from morphology, how similar they are to us physically. So that's the first point. So we kind of share something common back in history is the theory. The problem I've got with where everybody's trying to take this is and Kosho's bang on the money. It is about the fact that it's little incremental bits of change. My kids are different to me. Their kids will be different to them, and so on. I've got identical twins that are different to each other. And
that's not the point.
That is the point, because that's the single step, and you want
How fast
to
was
reduce
that?
the whole. Sorry.
How fast does that change? You're seeing that change in your life, right? Supposedly that your children are changing, blah, blah, blah. So why aren't we seeing them changing, apes changing in front of us right now? Why are we not seeing anything in between? There should be evolving with us. There should be somebody about an ace behind me.
So lots of things in human history that we can go back to have been because of big changes in our environment. Famines, droughts, all that kind of shit. And that's forced us to change the way we live. I just want to finish the point.
Not one species shown to change into another species
really quick.
ever.
I'll be really quick, Etty. I'll be really quick. And that's forced us to change the way we did, and that's why we went from sort of hunting and gathering into agrarian farming, into civilized, into city building, etc., and where we are today. So that's our historical path and archaeological
convenient. All the
Can I read one?
It died. It all died, right? It all
sentence from
away in a huge flood.
all this conversation.
All the evidence died.
So it's falsifiable, right?
One of the flat earthers has to respond. You can't have all 5 of you respond.
All the evidence died.
That's been said address my point. I want to let Jeremy get in because he very graciously gave you the floor.
You're claiming that they all died.
He said Jeremy.
Homo erectus,
Jeremy,
homo
with the P as his icon.
I don't think.
So Jeremy, he was responding.
Ancestors that supposedly existed. You're claiming that they just wiped away by famine or something like that.
Fantastic. Jeremy was the guy who he asked to talk to.
Can you prove any of it?
Percentage, and you totally missed the point of everything.
Can we all agree that it's just a theory and it can definitely be wrong?
Oh, I think
it is wrong.
It is wrong.
100%. I can disprove
I just want to see if people could be honest here and admit that it could be wrong.
Anybody here knows it's wrong.
I need one sentence to prove it wrong. Are you
I know no one here knows it's right.
You agree that you guys could be wrong.
I know no one here knows it's right, but you people are literally spamming the chat about how we're all stupid because we don't believe in it, and this is stupider than flat Earth. That shows how stupid people are.
Nobody you're talking to said that, man.
Well, that's my point, though. You people think that this is actually a slam dunk case. No wonder you think the Earth is a magic spinning ball on a vacuum.
Ignore the heckling, Witsit. Don't get drawn into it. Don't lower yourself to it.
But you guys are forgetting how fast did the age change? How fast was that from before an 8 to an 8 now? Now I want to see the same results in humans, and it's still better be changing right now. I want to see every species evolving in our lifetime. I want to go back 100 years. There should be a change, and there's not.
Yeah, we're evolving USB ports. You didn't know that?
but there are
Yo, bro, tell them about intelligent design.
Hey, let me read you guys one sentence from Darwin, and I can prove it. Him himself proves it wrong. Listen to what he says. One sentence. If it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would break down. And I bring to you irreducible complexity, the flagellum. That kills your whole freaking theory. Over.
That's fantastic.
The series of successive mutations he's talking about is natural selection. But yeah, boom.
Yeah. So why do you think the flagellum is irreducibly complex?
The tail.
It has been used in other organisms. So the same DNA has been used in the cilia for bacteria to move it through liquids.
By the way, do you know what happened? Do you know what?
Hold on, Jake. Just wait for Justin.
We don't need to hear that you all are nihilistic mind-numb zombies.
That wasn't your time, Witsit.
A bunch of mind-numb nihilistic zombies regurgitating what they were told.
And all of this was, thank you, Witsit. And all of this was presented during the court case. And Dr. B, he tried to defend it and said, oh, this is irreducibly complex. There's never been a study into this. There's never been a study into the eye. And the defense brought in 238 studies. And they said, have you read this? No. Have you read this? No. Have you read this? No. So don't talk to me about this shit.
Studies
because it's well
claiming
documented.
Proving what?
You guys believe in fantasies, man. Listen to what you believe. You believe in a lake of nothing. Then a lightning struck whatever and started molecules.
I don't know how
they formed RNA, which formed DNA, which is impossible.
Just you gotta let Jake in there real quick too.
Yeah, always let interrupt him.
I just wanted to comment. That quote mine is immediately followed by the words in that exact quote where he wrote that is immediately followed by, but I can find no such case.
Okay. You know what is funny is you can't explain the eye to this day. You can't explain dreams, intuition, intelligent design, information. You don't have proof of intermediate species. You can't explain the mathematical impossibility of the amino acids then building into proteins. You can't explain abiogenesis. You have no evidence whatsoever of the entire population.
Make one point, which is so they can respond to it.
I just dismantled evolution.
The evidence
right.
was destroyed.
You made 5 points. One of the points that you made.
The evidence was destroyed.
One of the points that you made. Don't talk percentage. One of the points that you made. One of the points. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to mute you percentage. If you don't do stuff like that, man. But one of the points that you made was fucking about the intermarried species or whatever. And we've already told you that that's what you're witnessing all the time. That's what everything is going through.
That's the example fallacy, buddy.
The examples.
Name me one.
Shut up. When you hear me say the examples are, you should not be repeating what name one.
The consequence, show.
For fuck's sake. The examples in our scale, like in the human scale, would be some of the species that we lived alongside of that were not entirely different species, so we're able to mate with them, but the offspring could have been maybe not successful or whatever. And there's examples of that in what do you call them, the Denisovans and the Neanderthals, which we have evidence of species. We have evidence of those things existing in the DNA, and then their offspring existing, and also offspring between human and those things.
No wonder you are so depraved. You're sitting here talking about bestiality. Oh, how disgusting.
Wait. Let's get this right. You guys don't have DNA proof.
I just typed that as you said that, Austin.
Hypothesis.
Ugh.
He's literally justifying bestiality. Next thing you know, they'll make it legal in America and they'll take a fucking dog for their missus.
You guys can say the silly things you want to say, but these are the facts of life. These are the things that have evidence.
Say
when you guys produce the things that you believe to have evidence, I won't laugh at it.
No, you don't have
produce
any
evidence for this.
You have no evidence, though.
You have to produce the evidence, not us.
I can easily do that. That's what I'm saying. I can produce the evidence for the things I'm claiming. When you guys can do the same thing,
explain the amino acids and intermediate species.
Jesus Christ, one at a time.
Like, this is laughable. You people still think evolution's real. God.
Homo
Is your
antecessor.
DNA
What happened
that
to all
you're
of them?
talking about in these studies, is it a DNA hypothesis? Is it that?
No.
Then that's exactly what it ends with. It's a hypothesis. You have no proof of any of that existing and happening.
No, I do. I'm about to share it with you guys. Give me a second.
Little gammas want to jump in from the sideline and say, I can't believe that this is 2020 and people don't know this. Y'all are so dumb. I learned this in 5th grade. Yeah, you learned stupid shit.
Again, nobody
in
that you're
5th
talking
grade.
to is saying this stuff to you.
Yes, they are.
Really, the only people jumping in and saying things are people on your side who said that what I just said was equating to bestiality.
Someone just jumped in the middle of Stacy talking and interrupted her.
People you're talking to aren't calling y'all dumb.
No, someone just jumped in the middle of Stacy talking, calling us stupid. Someone just jumped in 5 minutes ago saying I learned this in 5th grade. Okay, so you said that they're not saying anything, but they are.
I said the people you're talking to, the people who you're in the conversation with.
Well, then maybe you need to put a rein on the people just jumping in saying
no,
stupid
maybe
shit.
you should just grow some skin, dude. Like when y'all just said the thing about bestiality, it make me want to cry, right? And maybe say, okay, that was a silly thing to say. So just grow some skin, dude.
No. What
here you go. Here's Nature. Here's Nature. Nature. It's a very reputable publication. And it's describing what I just told you.
So by logical deduction, there's nothing wrong with bestiality then, right?
Okay, you're talking about genetic analysis. Is this
No.
DNA,
By logical deduction, is there anything... I need to know what Coach's answer is. So by logical deduction, there's nothing morally reprehensible about bestiality then, right?
If that's the way that you use logic to come to that conclusion, then you are a moron. But no, bestiality is not describing two things that have that are actually the same species mating. That's not bestiality.
You said that we were.
I said they're different subspecies. I said they're different subspecies.
Oh man! So when does an animal become a new species? Because that's another problem with this.
Whenever it can't mate, when it can no longer have a reproducible offspring.
Which means you have to have sex with them to know that, right?
Species.
That means you have to have sex with it to know that, right? How would you know it can't reproduce without having sex with it?
They don't have sex with these birds that they've done that with. They've seen this with insects and stuff like that, and they've witnessed this whenever they can't mate with each other, and they can only now mate with the evolved.
Now, you don't understand the inherent restrictions of claiming evolution. You have to immediately hand-wave dismiss objective morality. You are going to have to condone, from a moral perspective, intertwining with bestiality, because that's how we supposedly got
bestiality when you don't know what you're talking about. Well, name how this bestiality. It makes sense of it.
It's a must
without lying, of course.
It has to be bestiality.
Yeah, I just told you how it wasn't, and you don't remember what I just told you.
Then you find out that something doesn't reproduce. That means you had sex with something that couldn't reproduce anymore. That means
this is not how they've occurred. They did not see speciation because of this. They've seen speciation in birds and insects.
Why you always got to interrupt, man?
In birds and insects. We don't have sex with birds and insects, you fuckwit.
Okay,
God damn it! No one's having sex with birds or insects. There's no reason to call it bestiality.
You started this by talking about people.
Yeah, about subspecies of humans.
Okay, and then eventually, you said eventually, when you're having sex with subspecies of humans, that they won't be able to reproduce anymore.
No, I said some of the offspring would not have been able to reproduce.
And then they're no longer
species, right? Half Neanderthal, which are neither of those are human.
Explain
so you're having sex with something that's non-human.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. How did a flagella
I was
become a
reading
Tyrannosaurus
your
Rex?
evidence, and your evidence stated it didn't even know who the father of this person was. They don't even have all the information. They're claiming
They have the
things.
DNA.
It is a hypothesis of DNA.
The DNA. So they have the exact DNA. They don't have the DNA of the father.
They
That doesn't
have
mean
the
that they don't know.
DNA, and they have the DNA, and they put in the sequence in a computer that is already programmed. It is a DNA hypothesis. They're talking about bones that they know is 90,000 years old. How did they figure that out? You want to figure that out for me?
It's in the paper, no? Didn't they not use like carbon, some kind of radiometric dating method?
Yeah. So hey, Coach, if their dating methodology is wrong, would that mean evolution's automatically wrong?
No. It would mean that they did dating method. But what reason would you have to say that these guys, the people you haven't read, their dating is wrong?
No,
Like,
if their dating is wrong, they would have to disavow evolution because you need billions of years, bro.
These people did wrong dating.
So if you're looking at these different remains and you're saying they're from millions of years of progression of physical mutations, then you're going to have that period of time to claim that a slow, gradual process of actual physical change is happening. So you have to have the timeline. That's objective.
90,000 years ago, so it's not millions of years.
Okay, 90,000 years is just part of it, though. You're claiming to go way before 90,000 years with evolution.
I'm not claiming anything like that. I'm showing you a picture from 9,000 years ago, dude. Stop strawmanning.
Okay, and at what point in the evolution of humans was that from 90,000 years ago? Was it closer to humans or closer to apes?
Go ahead, Jem. I'm done with them.
That's what I thought.
It's okay. But it is important to ask questions, right?
They
We're
could
talking
be wrong
about
about
evolution
dating.
and how we got here.
You
They could
cannot
be wrong.
support this theory. It's sheer la land. You cannot support it.
I figured we'd have at least some honest people in here that wouldn't just believe evolution. Jesus.
Of course, it's supported
Yeah,
by lots
at
of
least
things.
that.
The fact that we see things evolving today.
No,
the
we
fact that
don't.
there's-
Where,
Yes,
You don't remember the server allowed to talk?
The fact that we see, for instance, evidence of evolution in human beings.
What?
The fact that we have a fossil record.
We just addressed that.
All of these things. The DNA record, of course. All of this.
Okay, all those are wrong. So if you're looking at just the humans, you can't
All
claim
those are
something
wrong.
to do with an evolution of species outside of humans. So if you don't substantiate your dating period, you can no way make a timeline of progression claiming physical change. If you don't have an intermediate species to actually see in the middle of the transition period, you can't claim you have physical evidence of anything because that's the first step, the naturally occurring observable phenomena. What you're saying is by reifying your postulation that everything evolves over billions of years, you have to say that at the beginning, then everything is changing right now. So everything's an intermediate species. That's called affirming the consequent. That's stupid. Everything you said has literally nothing to do with our question. Where's the physical empirical evidence that there even is intermediate species?
Well,
Jim, we can't even.
You didn't ask me. I wasn't giving you. I wasn't giving you evidence of intermediate species, although of course there is evidence of intermediate species. I was telling you about some general evidence for evolution. That
I called them all out, though. I explained why they're all wrong.
Well, no, you didn't. You just said that's wrong. And then
no, I didn't. I explained that if you're just looking at the DNA within a human, that was one of your claims, then that is no way can you substantiate something outside of the evolution of the human race that way. You're just looking at changes or differential within the human genetic sequence. That's what you said.
No, I didn't.
You said we have evidence by looking at the DNA of humans themselves. That's what you said.
No, I didn't. I said the DNA record is the words I used.
No, that was the word you said after it. I guess this is where I have to play it on YouTube again.
Didn't say, yeah, play on YouTube. Go on.
I'm about to. Don't worry. Don't worry, buddy.
Let's get back to the point. Jim, then can you tell us how we've evolved as humans, please? And our lifespan you've seen?
Yeah, the Eskimos have done it.
I didn't say
that. Better than non-Eskimos because of the fish diet.
We do see evidence of evolution within humans because, for instance, a large proportion of the human population can't drink milk beyond childhood.
Oh goodness!
But most Europeans can drink milk beyond childhood. That is an evolutionary trait that Europeans developed.
Goodness.
Another one is people who live in the high Himalayas have a how would you describe it? A much more elaborate capillary system, but blood vessel system. So
it's like the 10th time I've had to do this to you, Jim.
Okay,
and so that's another sign.
Evidence of
Like in the
evolution
Galapagos,
in human
for example.
beings.
Babies that are born there that aren't from there, they don't have a success.
Yeah.
They don't have a high success rate.
Hang on, that
And so that's how they know that.
That's macroevolution. That has nothing
That's
to
me
do with
saying,
evolution.
that was me saying evidence of evolution in human beings. I did not say the DNA of human beings, like you said I said.
I said, okay, you said it's within humans themselves, and it can't be because you're trying to claim something beyond humans. And then you said after that, you said DNA. I said that, and then you said, no, I didn't say anything about humans. I didn't say that. I said DNA. I said, no, you said this about humans. So here it is.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
we-
the body just reacting different to the atmosphere and the area that you're
For
born?
instance, evidence of evolution in human beings.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't deny that. All right. You'll have to be muted for that, I'm afraid.
For instance, evidence of evolution in human beings. The fact that we have a fossil.
The fossil record doesn't even back up evolution. It would make one expect to see one common ancestor with everything branching out from that common ancestor. But at least in the fossil record, we see the sudden appearance of many varied bodied forms.
Right. I said human DNA. I can't remember what it was about now, but the DNA in humans. I didn't say DNA in humans. I said we see evidence of evolution in humans. And while you were finding the fucking tape, I went on to describe that. So coming back here, declaring victory and mocking with laughter is shut the fuck up, Stacey. Is idiotic. You were wrong. I did not say what you said I said. You were wrong. Thank you. Go ahead, Stacey.
Now this is when you do talk.
If I may, Jem, are you addressing macroevolution? Maybe you have it mixed up with evolution. Like, for example, in the Galapagos.
Oh, yeah, I've got it mixed up. Yeah, you unravel it.
You said intermediate.
Because I
you said
don't
intermediate.
get it.
Go back, Jim. You said intermediate. Where's the proof of intermediate? You said there was proof of that. Do not change what you said, because I remember very clearly.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, I said there was, because there is. Jesus, what's wrong with you? Yes, there is. For fuck's sake, woman.
Okay. Then where's it at? Where's the intermediate people that's changed?
Oh, was I supposed to get that while I was dealing with Witsit and have it ready for you? Why are you such an entitled twat?
You said you never said anything but what you said earlier, which was bullshit. It was only about DNA of people humanly changing, like where they're born and shit, and they evolved. You said there was intermediate proof.
You've
You
completely
lied.
made up. Everything you just said was completely made up. I never said,
No, I didn't.
as usual with you, Stacey, I never said anything even remotely close to that blabber that you just came out with.
You just said, you did a second ago that there was intermediate proof. I'm waiting for it. You said Witsit was going crazy. So what did I say wrong, Jim?
There is evidence of intermediate species. Of course there is.
What did I say wrong, Jim?
Plenty of it. You didn't say that.
What did I say wrong, Jim?
Can't remember. It was incoherent
Because you're too
blabber.
busy yelling and not listening to your
No,
own
it just
words.
wasn't
So where's the
coherent
intermediate
sentences.
proof?
It wasn't
Okay, so then I'm
coherent
waiting.
sentences
Where's the
separated
intermediate
by
proof?
a small pause or anything like that. It was just like I say, an incoherent blabber. Right, here we go. Tiktaalik.
Okay.
Where
You
you go.
posted
What's
it
your
for-
problem with Tiktaalik? Let's hear it.
Oh, God. That's your intermediate proof of people in between us as humans?
Wait, where did you find that, Jem?
Am I in reality?
Yeah.
Okay,
Jem, Come back to reality. Knock, knock. Knock, knock, honey.
Is that a living
muted
species?
again? I'm not going to put up with you sitting here mocking Witsit while I am trying to respond, but can't because my response is being blocked out by your juvenile, idiotic 9-year-old mocking. So, what I was asked for was evidence of an intermediate species. Nobody mentioned humans, did they?
Can I just add something that I wanted to add a while
Pretty sure you
ago?
did.
Did you say an intermediate human species? Did you say that, Stacey, or did you say intermediate species? Which one is it? Don't forget
We were
it's
talking about
recorded.
humans, but we were talking about humans.
I'm talking about evolution.
But we were talking about humans when you came in.
Specific to humans.
Maybe, but evolution is everything, right?
And then we asked, was there intermediate things between us? And you said, yes, there's proof of us evolving, and there was intermediate things. And we asked for that proof, and all you gave us was the nonsense that you gave us, Jim.
I said,
and then you said you never said intermediate, which you did, and then you spiraled. Now we're here.
Right. Yeah,
I was
all
remembering.
of that was lies. All of that was lies. I'll tell you what I actually said was there was evidence of evolution within human beings. And I went on to describe that evidence. I wonder if you remembered any of it. Have a go.
Oh, she remembers it. She
No,
just got
I didn't think so.
Memory.
We can digest milk as adults.
You were talking
we can
how about in
digest milk
different
as adults.
countries, people's when they. Oh, I remember, honey. Calm down. You were talking about when they couldn't drink milk before, but they can drink milk now. Evolution, stupid shit like that. I remember your whole conversation.
Yeah, I didn't say
and
that
other
either.
people on
Didn't
DNA.
say that, you
yes,
mong.
you did, sweetheart. You
No, I
did.
didn't. No, I didn't. I said we can. I said in some parts of the world people can digest milk as adults, and in other parts of the world they can't. That's what I said.
Evolution, and that's intermediate bullshit you try to prove, or any evolution proof of anything
so
that people can handle milk.
No,
That's called
no,
performance issues.
idiot.
And why? Wait, where is?
Right, you muted, Stacey. Again, we're talking about more than one thing, aren't we? Evidence of evolution in humans. One thing. Intermediate species. Two things. DNA. Three things. You can't just mix them all together and say, oh, you didn't produce evidence of evolution in DNA, did you?
Hey, Jim,
can you?
Jim, bro, can we rein this in for just a sec, bro? Like, I said, you said the human thing, right? And then when I responded, I said, no, that's all wrong. I was like, you can't look at just humans and claim something outside of it. And then you muted me and said that I strawmanned you and said that you said human DNA. But literally in the recording right here, which I won't play again, obviously it made you spiral, I did not say human DNA at all. I said you can't just examine humans and then make some leap of a claim to the transition beyond the humans.
Your accusation,
That's what I said.
Your accusation was about human DNA or something.
Okay. I'll just play it then.
I agree with Jim. We just addressed these things, all of these things. The DNA.
Yeah, you don't need to hear that again.
Hey, Jim, not to change the subject, but the local I say hi because I had you playing through my speakers when you did that 10 minutes ago.
Well, we've heard it 4 times, Stacey. It doesn't. I didn't say what he said. I said he's wrong. It's as simple as that.
So
And
no
you
intermediate
mongs,
between
you
humans. Okay,
mongs,
thanks.
you mongs should not be sitting there waiting to see if there's some sentence that is malformed in some way that you can pounce upon to scream that I can't produce evidence for it.
In order to have
you make
evolution,
a claim
don't you
sometimes
have to?
and say stuff that isn't true, and then I call you on it, and you get very upset and spiral, and that's why you don't like me, because I listen to your words, and words have meaning.
Okay, what have you told me? What have you said that I've said that isn't true?
I don't know what you said because I said what you said, but then they said, and I don't know where the fuck we're at. But remember, we're talking about intermediate human beings. Where's the proof for that?
Stacey, I've posted to you something I was directing at you, but that's not important.
There's evidence of that.
Yeah, there's plenty of evidence of it. Yeah, Jeremy.
It's not important.
Well, you have to define what you mean by that. That's not a phrase that's used in biology in any kind of way. Like I said, we are intermediate, whatever you said the word. We're in the middle of being.
Okay, so then where are the ones that are evolving behind me? Shortly behind me. 10 to the second behind me.
You're always evolving. But the point of the process you're talking about is the speciation. And that's a point that occurs when there is a distinct, there's something that you can, like I told you, there's a point where there's things that can mate and then they have been separated and evolved apart from one another so long that they can no longer mate and have a viable offspring. So when that occurs, that's speciation. And I think that's what you're asking about. And in humans, this doesn't exist currently. So there's not a speciation process going on in between different sets of human species. But there are other apes.
I'd actually like to answer Stacey's question directly. The most likely ancestor to humans, modern humans, is probably Homo heidelbergensis. That's the
that's a bunch of no proof DNA hypothesis BS, though. It's still theoretical. We don't know any of this stuff, and that's the freaking point.
Wait, 1 second. Hold on, one. I just want to finish the point off because I think you're misinterpreting. Because we don't get DNA from stuff that old. That's the problem. This is where you are right. That we're looking at the homology of the skeleton, how similar everything is to us. The same way fish are more similar to amphibians. Amphibians are more similar to reptiles. Reptiles are less similar to fish than amphibians are. It's that kind of stuff they're doing, but they're doing it at a really detailed level.
Yeah, what I was showing you.
Koso just said that over time people got tired of reproducing with one another, so we can't.
No, it's not that tired. It's not got tired of it. That's silly. It's not about getting tired of it. It's about.
That was being sarcastic.
I didn't say the word tired, Stacey. I didn't say that. I didn't say it at all. That would have been strange if I would have said that.
That was me being
sarcastic. What I said was they're not capable. But they're not capable of reproducing. They've separated. Like, let's say birds live on 2 different islands now, and now they're incapable. They've evolved in such a way that their offspring, many times down the line, cannot reproduce with the offspring of the same bird. And this has been witnessed in other species, but in humans, for example, subspecies which are capable of having offspring. That's what I was showing you earlier about the two, and that I showed you. They checked the DNA of these things, and they have the DNA that matches the Neanderthal and the Denisovan.
Right. So we didn't get to the point that we can't reproduce anymore. That we're not going to be able to mate anymore either. Have you ever seen that in our history?
No, that's not. It's not about not being able to reproduce.
Let's just move on. Like Stacey, they don't care. It's
not about reproduce. It's not about not being able to reproduce. It's about not being able to reproduce with a part of your species that may have. Yeah, I know. So
they have an emotional connection to this.
We all live on Earth together. We're not evolving differently. If we'd have to be separated in some sort of way that allowed us to evolve differently from one another.
Their emotional connection is the fact that this would introduce objective morality, so they cannot acknowledge it. So just let it go. They're not going to acknowledge it. They're going to go to grasp at straws, mental gymnastics.
Other people have a conversation just because you're not interested in it. Doesn't mean we're going to change the subject, buddy.
And again, you're throwing insults straight away.
I'm explaining the truth. Like you people don't. You people aren't having once conceded.
You're just.
Well, there hasn't been one honest concession. Let me just say something. There hasn't been one. Listen, bro. There hasn't been one honest concession this whole time.
From you guys, I agree. There hasn't been one honest concession.
No, y'all haven't said one time like, oh, there isn't. You haven't said one time like, oh, you're right. This is just a theory. This isn't substantial evidence here or here. You haven't acknowledged that at all. Y'all act like everything is a fucking home run.
No, Witsit, I am going to pull you up on that because when I was talking to Stacey and I was trying to explain sort of the difference between, the homology sort of approach to how we identify the relationships to species to DNA, and I went, oh no, one of the things with Homo heidelbergensis is we don't have DNA, so it's based on the homology, where we find the bones, the age of them, all these things, and they're very similar to us, but they are different. So they are a reasonable postulation that they could be an ancestor species of ours. I didn't say it was a fact. I put lots of wiggle room in there.
Sure.
Yep. So don't fucking do this. Stop it.
Well, no, this is the point, though, dude. The whole context of the conversation, we were just explaining. We just wanted the middle ground of intellectual honesty. That's just a theory. And then this entire room, which you may have been an exception, but not really, but a little bit. You're more articulate and specific with your wording. The rest of the room,
what point in this conversation did any of you guys concede? Why the fuck are you holding us to some regard when we're providing evidence? When you guys aren't providing any, and you're holding us to some regard like for some reason we need to concede.
Why'd you interrupt me? Why'd you interrupt me?
No, I want you to answer that question, man. Because he just said he conceded at one point. When have y'all conceded?
I was in the middle of talking, Gamma.
So when have y'all conceded?
At Gamma, I was talking.
Right. So go ahead and make the point that you're making about us, right?
Interrupting me. Hold yourself to the same standards you claim to hold everyone else in here.
You're not making a point, Witsit. The point you're making is fucking irrelevant.
You haven't conceded at all. I was in the middle of a point. So actually, you're the ones that are making a positive claim about evolution. I would knock you out in real life, brother. So you can only make claims about. Hey, listen, you can. Yeah,
like 90-pound sopping wet.
Let the joking commence. Please don't unmute him anymore. The conversation's much better without him.
Yeah, don't you have
that was unnecessarily. That was unnecessary.
But what did he say that provoked that? What was that necessary?
Witsit, the heavyweight champ of the world.
Wow.
What did he say to provoke that? Was that unnecessary too? Was that unnecessary too, Room?
And Witsit, like I have done about 30 times plus today, you can take the higher ground and not react to childish behavior.
Okay, wasn't I being very cool and calm and collected, responding to your point?
You got muted, man. You just tried to beat somebody up. That wasn't cool whatsoever.
Yeah, my point still stands, Witsit. You chose. Yeah, you chose to react. If you react, people are going to react back. You either perpetuate the problem or you fix it by conducting yourself like an adult. If other people choose not to, that's their fucking problem.
And this room will not hold the Globers accountable in any way, shape, or form. They are united, just like we are, I guess, at 24/7. So we're on our own.
If Dress shouted right now that he was going to kick your ass if he saw you, I would mute him too. Okay? He doesn't say stuff like that, though. So he doesn't get muted for that reason.
I have been muted for that because I once threatened to bash someone's skull in with a brick, and I got muted for it.
There you
go. I get muted quite a lot, to be fair, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but you didn't threaten to knock him out.
Point of accountability.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all have our moments of temper, but we can all choose to be better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, hitting somebody with a brick disagree is one with thing, you but because I threatening think to knock them out, that's violent.
I don't mean to interrupt anybody, but I just know Jeremy's in the chat, and you know he has been waiting. There's a lot of fighters in here, and you guys gotta have the same. You guys gotta have the same respect that we try to give to, like, as Globers, we try to give to each other. You know, which is allow other Globers to speak. So I don't know if he's got something he wants to say.
Everybody's over talking.
In
Everybody.
the chat, Jeremy.
Yeah, don't you have to add? Doesn't new information have to be added in order for evolution to happen in the DNA?
Address that one.
That's what the genetic mutation. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Whoever just said they wanted to address. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So when you say new information, just to clarify before I answer, what do you mean by new information?
Well, DNA is all made up of the information that tells the cells how to move and build, right?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So doesn't new Go ahead.
Yeah. So by that, new information is just a change in DNA. DNA is basically a long string of not amino acids, but basically it's a long string of code. You can think of it. In each position, you have one of four bases, and the order of the bases tells you the code. That's the information, and any change in the code is technically new information, and that happens a lot. That happens during your life. It happens as standard a lot of the time.
Am I allowed to now?
No, dude. Now someone else is talking.
So you muted me talking and lied about me, and I don't get to defend myself.
Discussing it with Jeremy.
Okay, let him respond, please.
An example is cancer, and that happens because there are changes in the DNA happen in a specific way that makes a cell start dividing uncontrollably. So that's one example of where new information, as you call it, happens, not in the context of evolution, but in the context of a disease.
Do you have an example of anything beneficial, though, or?
Yes. So if you want to have a look at, for example, bacteria, or they mutate all the time and they develop resistance to antibiotics. They don't technically develop. What happens is, because of the changes, there'll be a chance, by random chance, out of a colony of, 1 million or 1 billion bacteria, a few of them will be resistant to a particular antibiotic. The antibiotic will kill off everybody else, and then the few that survive will divide and pass on this resistance, and that's how the bacteria overall evolves to become resistant to the antibiotic. That's an example of where it's beneficial. It happens all the time. We observe it all the time.
And that's not information that was already there. That's the new information that came up, or was that information already there?
The DNA code in the bacteria changed due to random mutations. It changed, and in one of those changes, it just happened in a way where it made that bacteria immune to a particular antibiotic. That's the example I'm describing.
I think you're bluffing.
That is how we observe it. It's exactly how it works.
One such example of that is sorry.
Go ahead. The only thing I was going to follow up with is you don't want to think of DNA as information. It's more like data. And when we add to the data, which can be mutations, like Parmesan very articulately put, that's changed in the data. That's all that's really happening. And that is an addition if you want to do it. I hate the word new information because it means there's direction behind it, and there's not.
Hey, dude, do you think it's a cool thing to do to mute someone, lie about them, and then not let them defend themselves for like 10 minutes at a time? Would you consider that to be?
I think that's fucked up, actually. And you should go easy on the buttons.
Nobody lied about you. It's
yeah, you did.
Don't bring out the violin.
Yeah, you did. So what happened was a guy jumped. I'm going to actually address it. No, I'm going to address it now because I've been waiting patiently for about 10 minutes. So
you're interrupting a conversation for you
because I got muted in the middle of it, and then people talked about me, and now you want to mute me in the middle of the
Jeremy's
conversation.
talking to somebody else about something else, man.
Because you don't want to let me expose that y'all are lying about me.
That's great, dude. Jeremy asked questions, dude.
Nobody was talking about you. I was talking to Jeremy. Nobody was talking to you.
No, because I've been muted for 10 minutes now.
I'm turning him down until he.
Brian, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, Parmesan, I was going to add to what you're saying by saying the single base pair addition is what gave a certain set of bacteria the ability to digest nylon. That is additional information added to a genome that resulted in a benefit to the creature.
No, that was already their ability to consume nylonase was already there. That wasn't new information. That was already there.
Jeremy, it's a frame shift due to a base addition. That is by definition new information.
No, QE went over this exact thing with the nylon, and you're full of shit.
QE is wrong.
So therefore,
Okay, now that we know this conversation has literally been reiterated for 5 fucking minutes now, I'm going to defend myself because I was lied about incessantly by little gammas.
About you, man.
So, well, then stop talking about me so much.
No one's talking about you, dude. No one's talking about you at all.
No, y'all did. Y'all talked
That's
about me while I was on.
Fuck. Gotta be all about you. It's gotta all be about you, huh? Gotta be all about you, huh?
No, okay, so the other guy jumped in and he said, you can only talk to me this in real life. You can never do this in real life. He provoked me. I should have kept my cool, but I said, yeah, I would have done it in real life also. You're not going to do shit to me in real life.
You already said something to him about that, so go ahead and say some more stuff about it.
No, I was muted every time I'm trying to be clear on what happened. Yeah, see, it's all you guys can do. That's all you guys can do. You have to censor me because you have to make up lies about me.
Because you're making threats of violence now. That's why you're muted. You've just destroyed the conversation, Witsit.
I didn't make any threats. I was
Yes,
saying
he
I
does.
lost my cool earlier. I shouldn't have said it earlier. So you're just, again, a liar.
Oh,
and that's why you had to
Jesus
mute me when you said it. It's instinctive for you to mute me so you can...
No, he had to mute you because you won't stop talking. That's why he has to mute you, not because he's trying to suppress you.
No.
Because
Actually,
he
Scott,
really
you
won't
weren't
let
here,
us
so
move
let's say...
out.
No, Scott, this is what happened. He said that I said something I didn't say. I said, dude, Scott,
he
calm
played
down.
it
You
over
did
the
say
fucking
this.
speakers
And I
3
played
times.
it over the...
I didn't say it, Witsit. I've just quoted in the chat what you say I said. I went back and listened to it. And you said, I said, where is it? God, the chat's moving so fast. This is what you said I said. We have evidence by looking at the DNA of humans themselves. I didn't say that. And you haven't played me saying that.
Did you go back far enough where you said about intermediate when he was asking about humans, and then you claimed you had proof of that, and you came in?
Dude, shut the... Dude, I swear to God, you're trying to make... Bruh, if you're gonna fucking talk about it, don't mute me. Guys, I'm trying to keep my cool, but literally there's a little gamma in here that...
Oh, look, Witsit, if I'm going to talk about it, you shouldn't be objecting to being muted, because I'm talking about it. So you don't have any opportunity to speak, do you?
Okay, so do I get to now respond to it? Or are you just a little bitch? Okay,
Yes,
so I'm going to play
now
the actual recording. I'm going to play the actual recording again because, and you let me guess, you're going to mute me because
so
you
then
don't want
do it
everyone
then.
to hear that
That'd
you're
be
a liar.
stupid to make that prediction and then
So
complain
this
about
is
being muted,
exactly
man.
what the this is
Don't
exactly
play
what
it.
the recording says. This is it. Why are you interrupting me again? This
Because
is
nobody wants
exactly
to
what the
hear it.
record. Yeah,
And there's
exactly.
people
Exactly. Y'all are just
do.
trying to make me mad. Y'all are just trying to make me mad. The only part that literally right in the recording, what I say is what I say is all human. You can't say by looking at humans. I never said the word DNA when I fucking responded to you, but you're a little piece of shit liar. And that's why you have to mute me and say it. I did. So I'm about to play it, and you watch. You're gonna mute me right when it gets to the point that exposes you because you're a liar.
Leave it playing, Witsit.
Why can't I hear it?
Human, it can't claim something to do with an evolution of species outside of humans. So if you don't substantiate your dating, of course, all of this. Okay, all those are wrong. So if you're looking at just a human, you can't claim something to do with an evolution of species outside of humans.
Where did I say DNA, Jim?
Right, keep playing it.
Okay, so later in the thing, I addressed your other points, which you brought up. Exactly. So you were wrong, Jim.
No, I wasn't. Keep playing it. Go on.
Don't substantiate your dating period, you can no way make a timeline of progression claiming physical change. If you don't have an intermediate species to actually see in the middle of the transition period, you can't claim you have physical evidence of anything because that's the first step to naturally occurring observable phenomena. What you're saying is by reifying your postulation that everything evolves over billions of years, you have to say that at the beginning, then everything is changing right now. So everything's an intermediate species. That's called a affirming the consequent. That's stupid. Everything you said has literally nothing to do with our question. Where's the physical empirical evidence that there is intermediate species?
Oh, Jim, we can't even.
So wait, what's up now, Jim?
Keep going.
Oh, so now that we want to progress into a newer, the conversation's different.
Keep going. Just keep going.
This is why you muted me. This is why you had to mute me. Because you don't have it in you, to be honest.
Keep playing. Keep playing it.
I wasn't giving you evidence of intermediate species, although of course there is evidence of intermediate species. I'm telling you about some general evidence for evolution. I called them all out, so I can tell you why they're all wrong.
Just sex.
Talking over the bit where he says it now.
No, I was outside in the wind. You're just literally a gamma, so...
All right, well, why has it stopped playing?
I was outside and the wind picked up, so I moved inside so you could hear it. But
This is
you're
very
a gamma.
boring for everyone else. We need to get on with it.
Something outside of the evolution
Here
of
we
the
go.
human race that way. You're just looking at changes or differential in the human genetic sequence. That's what you said.
Human.
No, I didn't. You said we have evidence by looking at the DNA of humans themselves.
There you go.
I said the DNA record is the word. That was the one you said after.
That was our dispute. That was our dispute. That was what you were going on
And dude,
to find.
hey, Jim, before you muted me, didn't I say, okay, but when I first said it, I said the right way, which was humans, and you said, no, I didn't. Is that what happened or not?
Oh my god, dude.
I admitted before I went to get it, dude, that I admitted that when you first said it, you just said humans. I said, okay, well, when I said it back to you, that's what I said. And then later in the conversation, No. Save face after I've been muted and lied about. I need a save face. What a joke. Jim, when I first responded,
I've heard you say that. You say that. I didn't notice you say that. If you say I responded to you saying that, I wasn't responding directly to that. But our dispute was about what we've just heard. That was where we were. There was a dispute where you said I said something, and I said no, I didn't say it. And you can see,
and then when we discussed it, I was like, okay, you didn't say DNA. I said that. I said when I first responded to you, I said you just said the humans, right? And you muted me and then misrepresented it. And do you agree that if we had been adults and had this conversation 10 minutes ago, we could have just agreed it didn't really matter, it wasn't important? But you made a big deal by muting me, lying about me, people sending me threats, people fucking saying all kinds of crazy shit to me, muting me every time I got one word in, and y'all did this. Y'all made it devolve.
No, you did it. You did it, Witsit, because
We're talking about humans. Humans.
You did it, Witsit, because you came back into the chat going, you're wrong, and giving it all that shit. And I
was mad because every time I came back off me,
I'm still talking, and I wasn't wrong, and I wasn't able to explain that I wasn't wrong because you were busy making all that noise, and Stacey was rambling away in the background as well at the same time. And that's why I muted you, because I wasn't wrong, as you've just seen. I was
Never
not
your
wrong.
fault, Jim.
And I did not deserve to be trampled over and mocked and laughed at for being wrong when I wasn't wrong. Thank you.
Oh, you mean like happens to me every time I'm here, and then I'm actually reading from like Harvard, and then I cite it, and then you people act like it didn't happen? You mean like that?
I'm not.
It's funny that you have such a double standard. This is like Scott when he talks about politics. He thinks that people can't tell he's like most incredibly biased person ever. Scott, you're a very biased person in every aspect of your life. Do you agree?
Biased.
Scott, you're exactly
But when you were talking to Jim in that recording, did you not notice how much you just overtalked and constantly interrupted? Like he said, I think 8 words total, and you were just monologuing the entire time. That's what it's like when you're in here all the time. That's not unusual.
Wait a minute,
watch this where someone else talks. I'm guessing.
Incorrect. I'm going to defend the conversation because before that conversation, before he played that, Jim had came in and was saying stuff. He was answering back.
Yeah, but they don't listen to that. No, Stacey, they don't have to watch that part. They don't have to watch. It's just like when Scott looks at the politics. He only sees one half of it. So he only sees one half of it. That's what his room does.
Dialogue going on.
Yeah, but when you're respectful, bro, and you admit that it happens on both sides, and you try and keep respectful. Sometimes I lose my cool, but like that's different. You're actually showing genuine effort to try to be honest on both sides. That doesn't happen in this room. Every time, so we all know it doesn't. I'm not going into detail.
Should be more like me. I never lose my cool.
Okay, you lost your cool. It's not going to go with Jim.
Let's get back to the conversation instead of having a conversation about the conversation.
Right. So let's talk about what was important about the conversation.
Does anyone have
which was about humans,
how changes?
Yeah, you have no physical empirical evidence.
Well, not new information, but different.
Yeah, you have no physical empirical evidence of intermediate species. It's pseudoscience.
That's wait. But the whole point was, Jim. Remember, you said that you wasn't talking about intermediate species with humans, and that's all we were discussing the entire time.
Right.
And him playing that back proves it the whole time. And then you said, "Oh, you gave us evidence for none of that shit." And you said, "I was just talking about species."
Do you have physical empirical evidence of intermediate species?
With either.
Do you have physical empirical evidence of intermediate species?
Yeah.
Of humans.
Someone sent a cartoon of a fish.
Three links. You post your evidence too, Mr. Witsit. Also, as I said before, when you asked about why we haven't conceded yet.
Post my evidence
why
for
haven't
what?
You conceded yet?
Post my evidence for what?
5,000 times you've been proven wrong.
What was I proven wrong about?
Yeah.
Conversation that you've been trying to just prove.
Name one specific thing I was proven wrong about then, Kosha.
You just in front of everybody.
Who said DNA?
Scott, why are you interrupting him? Why are you trying to save him? Why are you trying to save him?
I was giving you an example.
No, you're trying to save him. Kosha, what was I wrong about? What did I say wrong about DNA, Scott?
I don't know about you. Whatever you had to debate about Jim, when you played it back,
Okay, so
you
what did
said-
I say that was wrong? Sky doesn't know anything.
Here's
Why are you
three
interrupting?
links. Hold on.
Why are you constantly interrupting?
Scott, you just admitted you have no
When
idea.
you said I didn't
so,
say DNA.
Scott, you weren't
When
even
you said
here.
I didn't say DNA. Why are you interrupting? You asked me the question. Let me answer it. And you said I did not say DNA. And then Jim made you play it, and you tried to stop 3 different times, and he forced you to keep playing. And then
No,
finally you
I
did
didn't
say
try
it.
to
That's
stop
what you're
anything.
wrong
I was
about.
outside in the wind, Scott. You're a liar.
Before that, you stopped
No,
twice
I
before
got
that.
muted each time before that, Scott.
No. You
Yes,
stopped
I did. Every time I played the recording, I got
playing
muted,
twice.
Scott.
Yeah, let's just
No,
get
I
over
didn't.
guys because
On
it
this
was
Oh,
one
Scott, you're such a
occasion.
liar. You're
You
such a
weren't
liar.
muted, Witsit.
You're such a liar, dude.
You
No,
were not
on that
muted.
last one where I played it, I stepped in because the wind started blowing really hard and it made it sound crazy in my headphones.
You stopped playing twice, and Jim told you to keep playing.
Oh, yeah, because
Okay,
I
and
was
he
making
did
the
play
point
it.
of because what you
Oh,
didn't
yeah, I guess
hear,
I was right.
Scott.
So that's another
Yeah,
thing you're
Scott,
wrong
because
about. You're wrong about
again,
that,
Scott,
too,
what
now.
you
Add it to the
didn't know,
list.
Scott, you're wrong again, but you have to interrupt
I'm
me
adding it to
because
the
what
list.
you
It's
didn't.
too late.
Scott, why are you interrupting me again? Because you weren't
I'm adding
here.
it to the list.
You weren't even here,
You're wrong
Scott.
again.
You weren't even here. You weren't even here. Jim already conceded my point, and you're arguing something he conceded because he was actually here. You're an idiot.
I didn't
You're an
concede.
actual idiot.
I didn't concede that.
No,
not
what
stopping
you
the
said
debate.
was that you don't remember, right? You said you don't remember, and maybe I misunderstood, or maybe that you just were talking to someone else, and I thought you.
Possibly.
Okay, but Scott's saying he knows I didn't say it now because Scott knows everything when he wasn't here.
But
I'm saying right now
that
that you're
wasn't
wrong
the
about saying
subject
you
Oh,
didn't
this is
stop
where Scott
playing.
double downs. This is where he double downs.
Everybody
But that
together
wasn't the
that we were
subject
all
of our
talking about
dispute.
like
People are
3 or
so
4 different
see-through,
things.
dude.
But that wasn't the subject of our dispute. The
Do you
subject
have physical
of our
empirical evidence of intermediate species?
Can I finish? The subject of our dispute was what you said I said. And I said, I didn't say that. And you went off to prove that I did. And when we look back at it, we find that that's not true.
No,
Now,
I jumped right back on and I said you not the DNA part, but you said just the humans. And my rebuttal was you can't just look within humans and claim something outside of humans. And you said you didn't say that. You said DNA from the beginning. And I said no, I didn't. And then I went and played it. And then you muted me. And then you lied to the room. And now you have Scott being the little cheerleader that he is, lying about something he wasn't even here saying. And now you don't have the balls to say you were wrong.
But it was the DNA part that was in dispute. You've just heard that. I said I didn't say that. And you heard yourself saying that I said whatever those words were. I can go back and find them again if you want me to. But I didn't say that. And that was the thing I was disputing. I wasn't disputing what you'd said earlier in the conversation. That wasn't
I think everybody got confused. I'm being honest because when we were having a conversation about humans, I think if everybody went back to the very beginning when Jim first came in and he was confused, we were talking about humans, and then the DNA term got brought up later in that conversation between him and Witsit. It's a miscommunication that happens all the time. But instead of arguing about it, let's move forward and realize what we're talking about. Is there any intermediate proof at all, Jim, of humans or anything?
Well, I think Kosho made a good point about intermediate species, because it's not really a thing that we can say, because when we find fossil evidence of a, like for instance, we have
Homo heidelbergensis.
What?
Homo heidelbergensis.
Well, I was gonna go for Lucy, which is what's Lucy?
Australopithecus africanus.
Right.
Australopithecus africanus.
But I think it's right to say, and you guys are probably better at this than me, but I think it's right to say that we can't say that we're a direct descendant of that particular
I explained
species.
this to Stacey exactly where you're
Right.
going. Yeah.
Right. All we can say is that species came before.
Hey Jim, can you agree that it's very possible evolution is completely wrong?
No, I don't think that's at all possible.
So is it possible that evolution's wrong?
There is.
Can you agree?
No, I don't think that's at all possible.
Is it possible?
And I'll add to that.
Evolution is wrong.
No,
it's not very likely.
I wonder why people think y'all are.
You can have a 0.1% if you want. Okay.
Well, there's 0.1% that the current claims of evolution are wrong.
I mean, the evidence in favor of it is pretty overwhelming. And there's a
No, it's
reason
not.
why
There's
so
no,
many
it's
holdouts
not.
actually-
wants to make
Hold on,
a
let me just
point.
finish let me just finish what I'm saying.
It was the
You
same
guys
as-
all talk a lot.
Way too nice.
You guys are all talking a lot, and I just like to get one word in edgewise without you interrupting. There's a reason why so many holdouts for so long eventually had to succumb. Eventually had to say, okay, we give up. You're right. Evolution seems to be true. And we're talking about, religious organizations, places that have very strong incentive to disbelieve it.
Like who?
And the reason is because like the Catholic Church, for example.
Oh, that's not a religion. They worship Lucifer, so go ahead.
The Episcopalian Church, then.
I don't know who that is.
All these, Christianity, Christians, various Christian organizations. So they have all this incentive not to, but the evidence just became overwhelming at some point, especially when we had the genetic stuff that we had in the early turn of the century, and then in the middle of the century, Watson and Crick discovered the double helix structure of DNA, and then we realized how perfectly that matches up with everything that we had speculated about evolution already. That collision of two ideas that were there, that just exploded into all this new evidence, and I mean, it's really compelling.
No, it's actually not, because there's no actual substantiation.
Is there 3, by the way, with DNA? Not 2, because we just figured that out a few years back, right? 3, not 2. Not 2 strands, 3 strands.
There's no scientific validation of the cause of the actual age claims that you're making. There's no scientific validation of the actual timeline claims that you're making. There's no actual empirical evidence of intermediate species other than reifying that everything itself is an intermediate species. There's no explanation for that. I'm not done talking. There's no evidence to explain the statistical impossibility that the amino acids. Okay, explain amino acids.
Well, can we do the intermediate species? Because I happen to know something about
No. Explain amino acids. In evolution.
What do you want to talk about? What do you want to know?
Amino acids disproves evolution. Explain it in evolution.
Why do they disprove evolution?
They couldn't just happen by random occurrence. So explain how they could. How so?
Amino acids. We find
Because
amino acids.
there's a lot of raw material in the ocean. There was a lot of it mixing up, and it was in the right conditions. And with enough of that stuff that's being mixed up, eventually two things are going to collide. They're going to form a bond.
That's not how that works. Amino acids, Scott.
Yeah.
So you have to have a cell, right? You have to start with a cell, right?
No, not necessarily. Amino
So
acids.
yeah, you have to have a cell
What
first.
he means by amino
No,
acids.
How did the structure of amino acids form over random happenstance?
Are you not familiar with the Miller-Urey
You people just all want to say the same bullshit, outdated.
Witsit, you've repeated your question at least 3 times.
No, but listen, the only response I'm getting is, I can tell you a vague.
That's not true. You won't listen.
I can tell
He said
you just said that.
Hear the response. You're talking about
There's
how you're
5
not getting a
people
response.
talking, Jim. There's 5 people.
And one of them is you.
Let me be the one that responds to you.
Did you
Then.
hear him say Miller-Urey?
Yes.
I'm not going to let you. Maybe you should talk to the people that are moderating that never, ever.
Okay. All right. Can we let someone answer? Can we let someone reply that hasn't spoken yet? Like that gentleman that just called out. He wanted to reply.
I was going to say, has he heard the Miller-Urey experiment where they created a reducing atmosphere, introduced no cells, and generated amino acids?
Brian, you start over. He left.
Why the fuck do you keep muting me?
Don't start speaking. It's not an invitation to start speaking.
Stop muting
he
me.
left when you started speaking, Brian. So you had to start over, man.
Okay, shut the fuck up.
Okay, so Witsit, are you familiar with the Miller-Urey experiment where they created a reducing environment atmosphere, and then by passing electricity through basic components that did not include cells, they were able to generate a racemic mixture of amino acids?
Oh, were they?
Yes.
Oh, there were no cells present. Okay, so what was the actual structure for the amino acids then?
I don't know. I'd have to go look that up.
Well, they wouldn't be amino acids, then would they?
Of amino acids. What do you mean?
So you're saying amino acids don't have cells in them?
Are you saying that what?
They don't
What?
have
Say
cells
that
in
again?
them, no.
Amino acids don't have anything to do with cells.
You can say that they don't have anything to do with cells. I said that you can generate amino acids without them being in a cell.
Okay, but for it to be actually applicable to what we're talking about, which is how amino acids could sustain themselves and then turn into a cell that could also replicate and sustain itself, then you can't just say it doesn't have anything to do with cells, because it does in your very postulation. So the reason that this disproves evolution is because it would have to be a mutative response over and over reoccurring within the singular lifespan of these actual amino acids into the cell. And then once the cell is established with the amino acids formulating proteins, then the cell, not only defying all those odds to even become a cell, has to, within the lifespan of that cell, learn how to actually adequately replicate itself also. So you would be here forever. It's statistically impossible.
That's not true. That's simply not true, dude. It's not true both on how we think the cell was, on how the first cell was formed. It's also not true that statistically it would take forever. It's only true. The only analysis that says it would take forever is analysis that doesn't take into account the fact that this would be happening in parallel. If you take one cubic inch of seawater and you pass electricity through it and you keep doing trials on it, that might take forever. But if you have the entire ocean's worth of stuff and it's all happening simultaneously, well, you got a lot of parallel processes going.
Yeah, what are the statistical odds of an amino acid formulating in just like some soup of randomness?
Very good.
I'll tell you about.
Very good. Really? Cite it. 1 in 5 million.
At least about 1 in 4 billion years. We have empirical evidence of that.
You don't have any empirical evidence of 4 billion years, Scott. You're a clown.
Because we have Earth.
Oh no, the Earth is how you know something's 4 billion years old. That's your claim?
I'm saying we have an instance of it happening one time.
Oh wait, how do you know?
Because we have it on Earth. Because they formed on Earth.
No, you're saying this happened on Earth 4.8 billion years ago, and your evidence for it is that it happened on Earth.
One in the time it took for it to happen.
4.8 billion years ago.
Dude, guys, this is pseudoscience. Chill.
Well, it's not science. To be slightly comedic, but okay.
This has nothing to do with science, dude. Because you have to have a naturally occurring observable phenomenon.
In your argument, Witsit, at the moment.
Okay, you have to have a naturally occurring observable phenomenon.
I would like to get a point out. Can I get a point out? Can I get a point out just very quickly? So you're lacking substance. All you're doing is you're hand waving away, saying no, it can't. Incredulity. I don't care about your incredulity of things. I want you to bring some substance to the table.
Yeah. Well, this has nothing to do with incredulity because you're making the.
Is not substance.
No, what I'm saying is you're making the positive. Kosho, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I want to have discussing that we found these in space as well. So I'm
Kosho, why are you talking right now?
Because I'm letting you know that you're an idiot.
Oh, that's a cool story. Oh, you went to space. Kosho went to space. What a cool story. So, way to divert. So, actually, I'm not just appealing to incredulity. What I'm saying is you're making the positive affirmative claim that you're close amount claims some pseudotyping bullshit origin story from 4.8 billion years ago, and I'm challenging it. I'm critiquing the specifics of what would be required within your little story, and I'm saying explain the statistical anomaly that amino acids alone would have to defy because this very intricate process to actually have an amino acid.
What statistics do you have?
I'll show you. I'll bring the stats. I'll bring some stats.
We've seen it happen
Let's see it.
Statistics that say it'll last forever.
Okay, you won't read it because you're a religious zealot.
Last forever.
Well, I don't think
that it's not parallel. So if you take into account that it's parallel, it's no longer going to take forever. But we've seen it happen in Miller-Urey. We've seen it happen like 2 years ago in this guy in the UK's lab.
That's not a naturally occurring observable phenomena, is it?
It is. And Miller-Urey did almost every single amino acid there is. They were able to form
That's not a naturally occurring observable phenomena, is it?
It's hardly relevant that it's not naturally occurring.
How is it relevant? You're claiming it naturally occurred, Scott. You claim it naturally occurred, Scott.
If they can do it in the lab, then you can imagine that it would likely happen in the nature.
No. If you have to use synthetic introduction to imitate something, then you can't say that happens in the natural world.
If the lab is replicating the nature of the nature of nature, then you'd expect it would happen in nature as well.
You mean the nature of your presupposition?
No, the nature of how things were.
Oh, you mean to presuppose how they were?
Yeah, our best understanding of the conditions that the environment was in, we replicate those in the lab, and then we see the amino acids conform.
Guys, if you want to believe in evolution, go for it, man. But just at least be honest and it's a theory.
Just hold on and let me finish. Why do you interrupt every time? And then they look back at the conditions and they say, okay, well, what are the chances that it actually formed in nature? And they can figure this out by looking at how much total volume of water and figuring out how much the raw materials are distributed in the water and make a guess as to what the likelihood of abiogenesis was.
So you think abiogenesis is empirically sound?
Yeah.
How is abiogenesis empirically sound? Enlighten me.
Well, abiogenesis is what we're talking about. This spontaneous formation of amino acids, a spontaneous formation of the building blocks of life. And Miller-Urey showed this possible. This experiment last year showed it's possible. So we have empirical evidence that it's possible here on Earth. So what is it about this idea that you don't believe?
Oh, so you're saying abiogenesis has been proven that organic life can stem from inorganic matter?
Yeah, that's what Miller-Urey showed.
All right, feel free to cite it.
Okay.
Let me just clarify. Organic molecules can stem. That's what we've shown.
Okay, so you can't have organic life from inorganic matter. You can't have inorganic life.
It's not so hard.
Hey, you can't have organic life come from inorganic matter.
You can.
That's what abiogenesis is. It's about life. It's about life.
Think about what you're made up of. Think about what you're made of. I'm
alive. Are you saying the molecules are alive? Are you saying the molecules are alive? Yes or no?
I'm saying they're not. That's the point.
Okay, so you don't have empirical evidence of abiogenesis. That's the dumbest comment I've ever heard.
Miller, you're right. We just told you that.
No, that isn't. Dude, abiogenesis is the claim that organic life can come from inorganic matter.
Yes.
Okay, well, a molecule isn't life, is it, Scott?
Amino acid is a building block of life. Protein. When those amino acids, it becomes a much trivial job to imagine how those things go to RNA, to go to cells, and so on.
Okay, so you can't have organic life come from inorganic matter.
Yes, you can. We just showed you
Then prove it.
I mean, I'll get you the citation. I said I would.
But the citation doesn't prove it, though.
Well, I don't know what you want then.
Okay, well, I want the actual proof.
Scott,
bring a rock to life right in front of him. That's what he wants.
Yeah. He's the one currently making the positive claim that it is impossible. And
no, that's not a positive claim.
And it may be just the way you're asking the question, Witsit, but you are actually making a positive claim. You are taking the position that it is impossible for life to come from inorganic.
No, this is what my position actually is. It's biogenesis. That's my positive claim. Biogenesis. That organic life can come from organic life or organic matter. That is my.
You stated
that is my positive claim. Now, if you're going to substantiate the alternative, that you need to provide some evidence.
But the problem I've got. One second. The problem I've got is that you say it's impossible.
Well, then substantiate that it's possible, please.
No. That's your claim.
You don't prove impossibility, dude.
I need to understand why you are holding the position that it's impossible.
Yeah, why would you ask me to prove something's impossible when it's unfalsifiable? That's dumb.
He didn't ask you to prove it.
He's asking me to prove impossibility. That is what he's asking.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you're asking me to demonstrate or substantiate. You are semantical little girls.
Claim that it is impossible. That's it.
No. My positive claim is that biogenesis is the only way that we know you can have organic life. Now, you're making a claim that isn't the case. Abiogenesis can happen. That means you need to support that. I'm saying, no, I don't believe it. I don't buy your pseudoscience fairy tale. I think it's bullshit. Provide empirical evidence for it. Stop shifting the burden of proof because you don't have any.
I will tell you my position. My position is, yes, I agree that the direct observations we have is organic life coming from other organic life. I agree with you on that point, okay? Wholeheartedly, 100%. What I'm not on the side of, that it is an impossibility for that life to have started through a chemical process.
But in order for you to substantiate that, you have to substantiate possibility, bro. Theoretical possibility. You can't even do that with evidence.
We've done that through the Miller-Urey because we can say, aha, these complex molecules that we need, that start to form the basis of very, very, very simple and primitive life. So we're going back to the basic eukaryotes, prokaryotes, at the beginning of our tree, which we still have some knocking around. Not the original ones, but similar stuff. And we can see how those very simple organisms are formed. Now, you're right, we've never produced an artificial cell in a lab. We've never observed a cell, being formed, or the precursors to a cell being formed with something that will self-replicate. The weirdest thing that we have along those lines is how viruses work and how they replicate, because that's
pseudoscience. Pseudoscience.
Why is that pseudoscience? What have I said about pseudoscience? Can you unpack it?
Well, virology itself is flooded with pseudoscience, yeah. So
virology itself.
Yeah, the way that virology, like it's flooded with
alive.
No, I don't consider they don't have a respiratory system or a nucleus. How would they be alive?
Well,
lots of things don't have respiratory systems.
Bacteria. Wait, a lot of alive things have no nucleus and respiratory system, and
no respiratory system.
Name one.
1 second, let me just get this out, please. So there's a whole type of life that doesn't have a nucleus or a respiratory system, but still is life because it replicates, it has a cell wall. Prokaryotes, all prokaryotes.
Oh, bacteria. Right? Bacteria.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what people often call viruses, that's all they are, is like bacteria. You have over 280 trillion quote unquote viruses in your body. They're genetic sequences, but they don't have a nucleus or a respiratory system. They're not alive. They can't exist outside of a host. Listen, man, they can't exist outside of a host. That's pseudoscience. No, viruses can't exist outside of a host. That's pseudoscience. But they'll tell you that they can. That they can go around and float on surfaces and float in the air, and they're alive and they're coming to attack you. That's all pseudoscience, though.
Viruses are alive.
People do say that.
Yeah, no doctor says they're alive.
Okay, so then why are you even bringing them up then?
Because they're a precursor. They're very.
But the whole point is that, dude. The whole point is life. Life is the point, right? That's what we're trying to say.
That we kind of constitute for. Is it homeostasis the right word?
When you're talking about life, it would be like the ability to replicate, sustain itself, sustainability, right? Like individual sustainability. It doesn't depend on something else to exist.
So Portuguese man of war aren't alive then?
What?
Portuguese man of war is not life then?
I don't know what that is.
It looks a bit like a jellyfish, but it's not.
Is it alive? I don't know.
It is alive. It's a colony.
It's alive, just like plants are alive.
Yeah. It's a colony species. So each individual
it's self-sustainable
on its own.
Well, of course not. Of course not. We can't either.
They form an organism.
Just let him talk, dude.
We couldn't survive on our own either. We have to eat food.
Can't survive. They can't.
So we're not alive.
There's no function.
No, we are alive. That was my whole point. You have a nucleus and a respiratory system. You can sustain life on your own. Like, and when you're talking about a cell, the way that you'd be able to the whole point of evolution that you're gonna. The whole point of evolution. Yeah, it's so funny that we go to Mars and find bacteria. It's life, but we can kill babies on Earth. It's not life. So anyway, the point is
life on Mars, man.
If it doesn't have
found
a nucleus,
amino acids on Mars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, but did they say they found life on Mars? So they found life on Mars, but a little baby in a womb's not life on Earth. That's a cool story. So I don't listen to pseudoscientific bullshit. Oh, okay. So yeah, people say that misnomer then, but people say, "Oh, we've got life on Mars."
Away from the topic rapidly.
No, I'm not actually. No, I did. I've already addressed your. Scott, you're the one that. Scott, you don't know anything about this conversation. Scott, shut up.
I do actually, as a matter of fact, and I just got all the evidence that you've been asking for, so you can take a look at all that.
Okay. Have you provided evidence for the fact that you can't create life from inorganic matter, dumbass? Have you proved that yet?
No, I found the opposite.
I'm going to leave now. I'm going to say goodnight.
Don't insult.
Well, Scott, you just jump in and say little backhanded comments to try to make me mad, dude.
Listen,
Scott, you're not doing it.
There's no justification. There's no justification.
So you can do whatever you want to, Scott? Is that what you're saying?
I've never insulted you. Not once.
What did you just say?
I didn't insult you. I don't know.
So you don't even know what you said. So I just lost my cool for no reason, Scott? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't insult you.
No, Scott, you are trying to provoke me like a child.
If you show why they're dumb.
You can't. I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Is it escalates the room? It makes a conversation impossible. It makes everybody.
Dude, what escalated the room was
fight.
Scott.
And he does it constantly. So
Scott,
there's no
what interrupted the room was that you interrupt. What escalated the room was you interrupted me.
You asked me to.
I was having a calm conversation with the other guy, Scott, and you jumped in.
Hey, you didn't have to stop and then try to attack me, but you did for some reason.
Because Scott, you just had to try to provoke me while I was having a calm conversation with the other guy. It's like it made you mad that I wasn't upset or something.
So I was bringing it back, and you said there's no evidence. I said, oh no, I got it for you now.
Do you have it? Okay, so Scott, you have evidence of them showing that life can come from inorganic matter because a molecule's not alive.
I'll post the evidence that I have, but what I'm trying to tell you right now is that you need to stop insulting people. Pretty soon, it's going to become non-tenable. So just like stop doing
no,
it.
He does not have that evidence.
Of course not.
Of course, I have that evidence. I'll post it. I actually didn't exactly hear your phraseology, but I have the evidence that shows that the abiogenesis of moments can happen in the primordial soup. We've replicated it over and over. We can see that amino acids can form spontaneously. And once you have amino acids, then the ball starts to roll.
That's not what he said, though. He said inorganic matter. The primordial soup is hypothetical organic matter.
Carbon is part of that. How do you define it? Okay. So then I'm not sure what exactly that you... So, yeah, if carbon exists naturally, right? Well, we have carbon. We start with carbon. I don't think that's what he means by organic, though. What do you mean by inorganic and organic? What's it? Well, it is the real definition, but I don't think that's what he means. He's gone.
He's using special definitions again, I guess.
I think his point is that you can't take non-life.
Let's just mute him and talk about.
Is what he's trying.
Definition of abiogenesis.
The spontaneous arrival or evolution, the spontaneous emergence of the building blocks of life or life.
Is abiogenesis antithetical to biogenesis?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay,
abiogenesis is the hypothetical belief that living organisms can come from non-living matter. Not inorganic matter, not living matter.
Yeah, they're two different things.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's just using the terms loosely.
Okay, so abiogenesis, the original evolution of life or living organisms from inorganic or inanimate substances. Okay. I guess this is where y'all act like I'm still wrong, though, I'm guessing.
I think people just use the term loosely, guys.
So Oxford's wrong. Okay, so I guess we'll go somewhere else. Oxford's wrong.
If you're using it usefully, though, then it's kind of meaningless.
What they're saying is that in chemistry, there's a definition of organic and inorganic, which is different than it's being used here. There's another definition of organic and inorganic, which means sort of life and not life. But it's getting a little bit convoluted or mixed up a little bit. That's all. It's not that big a deal.
We're talking about abiogenesis.
Hold up. That's why we're making a distinction between non-living matter and inorganic matter. So a tree and a rock are both inorganic matter, but tree is living and the rock is not.
Okay. So I'm not sure how that's relevant to what we're talking about, though.
Well, the definition of abiogenesis is the original evolution of life or living organisms from the inorganic or inanimate substances. So when I said that was the definition, and y'all said that I was not understanding it, and what does this have to do with abiogenesis? I guess this is where you would concede, well, of course it has to do with it, because that's how it's defined.
You should be talking to percent. They were having issues with the use of the word inorganic.
No, it wasn't percent. Someone else jumped in. Who was it was 50.
It was percent. Percent, just tell them. You literally had said inorganic means not carbon, non-carbon, and that you were making that specification. And
I just heard percent clarify why he was just trying to make a clarifying point. But the point is the other person is trying to get you on a gotcha, and clearly abiogenesis is defined how I said it was. So here's the point, man. There's no physical empirical evidence of abiogenesis. This is admitted with.
That's not true.
This is admitted with. No, listen.
That's not true.
Whenever you get when you get a molecule that isn't life, dude.
From non-living molecules, they can come.
So the definition of abiogenesis is wrong because 50 said so.
Wow. And those amino acids can come together and form the building block. Form an RNA. They're essentially the building blocks of life. When they come together, you can start getting the
how they come together
towards what we would call a full-on organism.
How they come together?
Gravity
brought together. Because the point, you're supposed to prove that actual life can stem from this, but you haven't done that in anything that exists. This is known in highest levels of education. The highest levels.
Well, just take a look at the evidence before you start.
No. The highest levels of education say you're wrong, though.
Okay, but just take a look at the evidence before you start.
No, I know so.
You don't know so. You're wrong.
No, I do know so. I guess I'll just drop some Harvard. Which school? Hey, out of those priesthood of university.
Just insist that you're right and don't.
Hey, Scott, out of your Scott, out of your. We've already addressed what you linked, bro. They made a molecule. They made a molecule, right?
Okay, figure out who's right and who's wrong, and then join in.
Did they make a molecule? Yes or no?
They made amino acids.
Oh, they made them. So what did they use to make amino acids?
Of abiogenesis. Talking about evidence for abiogenesis.
Okay, so my point is, you can't substantiate with empirical evidence that abiogenesis is actually possible because it's never been replicated on Earth, because that means you have to get life out of it.
So these experiments.
No, it's not. Now I'm claiming anything. This is what I've been claiming the whole time. So within the priesthood that you people hold of universities, which one would you like me?
Let people respond.
So go ahead, Sucker.
So your requirement is that you're saying to have evidence, you need to replicate all of abiogenesis to have evidence of abiogenesis.
No, to have evidence of abiogenesis, you just actually have to show that life is possible. Yeah, you have to replicate that part to show it's possible. Yes.
Okay, so I have presented you evidence of that it's possible.
Without the
no, you haven't, Scott.
Yes, I have. I posted it for you.
Did they make evidence? So what did they use to make the amino acids, Scott?
Possible. This is evidence that it's possible. I don't have to read exactly how they do it. They made almost.
So you don't even understand what you posted.
I do understand it vaguely, but I'm not a biologist, so there's definitely parts of it. There's definitely parts of it.
Okay, well then don't cite it then if you don't understand it.
Of course I can cite it. Don't be ridiculous. And there's parts of it that get very, very complicated, and so I don't understand the parts that are getting really into chemistry. Into chemistry too.
So how are you going to propose this as evidence if you haven't read it and understood it?
You should take a look. I think you'll get the gist of it too. It's not that hard. I don't think you'll understand the math either.
Wait, I asked you, if it's not that hard, then you should be able to answer the first question. What did they use to make the amino acids? That's the first question.
The raw materials of the primordial soup, which involved like nitrates and all kinds of different gases. And so they figured out what did the sea look like at this time. And then they added things like electricity and other forms of electricity. Somehow they form spontaneously. And then they figured out that if they mixed all this stuff together and they applied electrical currents to it, these amino acids would sometimes form naturally.
And you mean what they assume has to be in the primordial soup. But the point here is, did they attain life?
So no, they have obtained the building blocks of life.
Okay, so
this is why it's evidence. This is evidence in the right direction.
Pretty strong evidence with it.
It's really not.
And it was what you asked for, actually, Witsit.
No, it's not. What I asked for was proof for abiogenesis, where you can have organic life stem from inorganic matter. That's what I asked.
You asked for an explanation of amino acids, is what you asked for.
No, yeah, there's still. I said explain the statistical impossibility of amino acids. That was a different conversation. Though now y'all are trying to conflate them so y'all can misrepresent what I said. I it's not. I asked for proof of abiogenesis, Jim. Where have you been? Where have you been, Jim? I asked for proof of abiogenesis.
Listen for a second.
Yeah, because God forbid I get to call out what really happened.
Yeah, Witsit, you're just being obnoxious. That's all you ever do.
All you do is misrepresent what happened.
Just listen. I also posted an article in there that will tell you, it goes into a lot of detail about the probability argument, and it shows you what mistakes are being made with people that say it's statistically impossible, and then it shows you why it's statistically impossible. I think you'll find it interesting.
Okay, so yeah, you cannot in any way replicate that you could create organic life from inorganic matter. This is well known all the way up to the highest levels of education. I think that they have some evidence for it by some of the replications they've done in labs, assuming what the contents of the primordial soup would be, which actually there's astronomical percentage odds of that even actually being the environment. But I know you people aren't honest enough to have that point talked about. So the point is very simply, you haven't replicated the even theoretical possibility that organic life stems from inorganic matter. This is a well-known issue. We're trying to find evidence for it or explain how it's possible, but it's never been replicated
That's exactly
in the
what
real
I've
world.
just shown you is the evidence that it is theoretically possible. That's exactly what you just said we didn't do, and that is exactly what
No, it didn't show life, dude.
I know, but it showed you how the building blocks of life could manifest spontaneously.
But
And
how
once
can
you
they
have
come
those,
together
it's a
to
lot-
make life, though?
They come together the way all things come together. They bounce into each other. They form bonds.
If you're even vaguely familiar with chemistry, you know that a lot of reactions just happen once you put the right pieces in the same pot.
Yeah, the right pieces together.
And they made
Yes,
the right
amino acids being the right pieces.
Okay, so when they made amino acids, what all was in the environment that they replicated?
I don't know the entire list, but it was
ammonia, hydrogen, methane, water vapor, and a spark. That's it.
Okay.
That's
And then they, so
on the Earth naturally.
right, and they got a chemical compound that just poof made amino acids with the perfect similar structure to humans.
They got 11 separate standard amino acids in the first Miller-Urey experiment, and we've gotten it up to 20 since then.
Oh, and how many of the interactions didn't create an amino acids? Like what percentage of them? It'd be a huge percentage, right? It would be a very small percentage of the actual interaction or reaction creating it, right?
No.
I'm just asking.
No, they let it run.
All you need is the couple.
Because I know because you're a lie. That's why I asked, just to prove that you're a liar.
Let him answer. Let him answer.
Don't work if some of them do work.
I just know y'all liars. I like to point out that you're going to act like this happened every time, just like y'all do with Cavendish. Y'all lie about everything.
Insulting people again.
No, y'all always embellish things and lie about them.
Just let him answer.
Scott, you just sourced something you didn't even read.
That's not true. I did read it. Now,
you didn't understand it.
I told you what parts were. Well, I didn't understand the part that gets very complicated. You won't either, but you will understand the parts that are accessible.
Dude, Phil had to come in and answer the question for you and tell me what they used.
Paper you ever read that's outside your discipline is going to have parts you don't understand. That's the bottom line.
Well, don't argue about it then.
You have to get used to being able to read a paper and not understand every single last sentence.
That's maybe what you do.
No, that's what everybody does.
No, I don't understand everything. Yeah, fair enough.
So why are you arguing about it with it?
Divine intervention is breaking up. No, listen, I know you're a gamma, but I don't go based off of the script you have.
Hey,
so
Witsit,
we're in the middle of a conversation.
Stop doing
no,
it.
I'm not playing the game of can we try to make Austin look stupid by backhanded comments of it. Did you ever take chemistry? Have you?
To yourself, nobody's calling you names, man. So
that's a subversive little gamma tactic to try to say that I'm stupid.
You were just doing the exact same.
But you are gamma, so what do I expect?
Him not understanding the paper. Witsit.
A lot of projection.
How am I projecting?
Because
You
you're
were just
all
like-
the time, you're insulting people.
I've talked to 50 for hours at a time. He's a little gamma. You're a gamma too. Scott's a gamma. Sanic, gamma.
You interrupt like you did just did there. You also did what you just did there, which is just shout everyone down and just keep making any old talking noise to block people out. Another thing you do is you stretch vowels out unnecessarily. Almost every sentence has got the word gamma or idiot or you're a clown or this is not good debating, Witsit. And I think that you consider yourself to have some high standard in this field. And this is just really juvenile behavior. Really just and you are the reason the room ends up like this, really. Because of this idiotic behavior.
Actually, just like every other day, I came in here super chill, and then Zanuck tried to jump in and make it worse, and then Kosho jumped in, made it worse, and now you're hours and hours after. All you want to talk about is how I lose my cool on occasions, and I will say I find it very rich, Jim, that you would even utter the word debate to me as if you're going to tell me a proper formulation of articulating points in a debate when you literally never even offer specificity.
Well,
Witsit, he's dead right what he said.
Of a debate, Witsit.
Jim is the best with specificity.
No, all right. What does he ever add of substance? Does anyone know?
All you have to do is hold yourself to a standard of not losing your temper, not over talking people, and not insulting, and then just focus on your arguments.
Scott, I try to do that,
that is really good advice, though.
I agree, but Scott, do you agree it goes both ways?
Sure, it always goes both ways.
Do you agree that only one side gets held accountable?
No,
you're the one that is churning out an insult with almost every sentence, Witsit. You're doing that. No one else is
doing that the whole time.
Yes.
No, I haven't, Jim. I've been in here for hours. I came in here super chill.
All the time I've been here, you've been doing it.
Every time I ever come here, I come in chill.
Jim, you're one to speak. I've heard you shout down many people. Don't give me your shit.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
but the problem is that Witsit's doing it systemically and without any kind of stopping.
Well, one thing that's for sure is that whenever I talk about you, Jim, I don't mute you to do it.
Jim will own it. Jim will recognize when he does it, and he'll apologize. He'll actually walk it back.
I have too, dude. I've done that like 4 times today. I've done that 4 times today.
As you continue to do it.
I've done it 4 times today, Scott.
I know you just said that like 4 times.
No, Scott, this is where you just say that you lied about me again.
I didn't lie about you.
You say that I never admit it, but I do all the time. And there are a lot of people in here. I say, I misspoke there. Oh, I'm sorry. And when I do, you'll act like that.
4 times,
I said I should have kept my cool earlier whenever I said the dude snuck in and he was like, you would never talk like this in person. And I said, yeah, I'd knock you out in real life. And I shouldn't have said that, even though I was provoked to say it. I admitted I lost my cool. I admit I lose my cool.
That's not the singular issue. It's that you tend to come in, and when you talk about it, if someone disagrees with your point, you tend to say that the only reason they're disagreeing with your point is because poison the well, insert ad hominem, make sure to draw the perspective, and then...
I want to ask you something.
No, 50. I'm talking to someone else now. See, this is what happens, Scott. You see what happens?
And you give me
someone makes these very intricate, detailed accusations about me. I go to respond to it, and now he wants to tag team it.
50. Did you hear who was talking when you interrupted? Did you hear who you interrupted, 50?
I didn't hear any interruption. I waited for a pause.
Yeah, I had a feeling you couldn't hear him. There was
okay, so the point you're making is that I just like straw man and poison the well and stuff like that. Like, no, dude, I know my argument is never ad homs. Okay, that's not my argument. Now I do throw insults in there, certainly when I get worked up. But every single time that I
don't go on.
See.
Let me address what you said.
Only y'all are allowed to finish on.
At a time.
Yeah, only they're allowed to finish. Cool story. Yeah.
1 point.
He made 5. I was responding to all 5, but please, by all means, cut me off.
I made 1 point. It took me less than 30 seconds.
Your point was that I do this right here. I'll say it verbatim. That I poisoned the well by adding ad homs. You made numerous accusations.
Can you address this 1 point?
Yeah, I don't just make ad homs. That's when your argument itself is an insult. I add insults to my argument. Every time I'm talking, I'm making a substantive argument, and we all know it.
That's not true, but I was actually talking to the other guy.
No.
I mean, I just
very often you come in here, whenever people challenge you on what you say, your response is to say, well, in that case, you're not really just not thinking about it in the right way. Really, what you globetards need to think about is if you gamma males understood exactly what was going on, this, that, and the other thing, and that really all the scientists used to believe this, therefore that, circular reasoning, all of a sudden, reification, fuck you guys, you're just not
understanding. No, so he makes 7 points, and this is cool.
Exactly right. That's how the heliocentric model is.
Yeah, like all I'm doing is calling out the fact that you people just believe what you were told. You people haven't researched it. And then when I break down the other side of the argument that you haven't intellectually looked at, honestly, because you just refuse to, then you people don't ever even try to interpret what I'm saying. So after 5 times of Zenic looping the same thing, I refute it in my opener. I eventually say, okay, you just don't even understand it, then you're an idiot. Because either you're being dishonest or you're being an idiot. So it's one of those two things. I think it would be more disrespectful to just call you blatant liars, which I do sometimes. So I tell you, either you're playing stupid or you don't understand what's going on.
Oh, you could be. Do you understand how ironic it is when you do that when you're the one that's wrong?
Scott, stop! Don't! Or what could be happening is what happened earlier is when you admitted to the fact that you are using a language that no one else is using, and thus you're intentionally confusing the situation.
No, because every time that happens,
it's not that we don't understand the topic. It's that you are intentionally confusing the topic by using words and definitions that people don't use.
Okay, that's not true. I'm not intentionally doing anything like that. Yeah, like I clarify in the beginning. I'm like magnetism, and I'll always say something like, you just people never listen because you don't want it. You think I'm stupid. You don't want to hear what I say. I always say magnetism, which, for example, is actually misunderstood in modern times because it isn't just coherent magnetism that exists. Incoherent magnetism exists as well. I explain that, so when I say magnetism, it's not just talking about that. Now, if you just keep on saying that it does after I clarify it, that would literally mean that shows incompetence on your behalf. Literally.
No, what you're saying, Witsit, is that you are using you're using everything modern except for your terminology to make sure that you can have an argument in such a way to where nobody can possibly respond to you. It's a dishonest tactic, and it winds up giving you a whole bunch of problems.
None of that's true.
Yo, what's one word? What's one word that he intentionally used to like mislead or mischaracterize or
The way
he said resting electrostatic potential.
Easy. Electrostatic potential, dielectric field. He uses.
I explained it though. I explained it.
Misleading term.
How was I intentionally misleading when I said I explained the way I was using it? How is that intentionally misleading? When I explained the way I'm using it, so you would understand what I was saying. Yeah, please enlighten me with your little fairy tale story.
The way that you're explaining it is to equate it to something else, and oftentimes that's wrong. Like when you equated dielectricity to an electrostatic potential earlier.
Dielectricity and electrostatics, yeah, they're
mommy.
All I said was dielectricity. I tried to help you people out because you people need, like, every time I say something, I give you like 8 synonyms so that you can't say the shit you're saying right now.
You should just use the modern usage of things.
No, because the modern connotation's wrong, though.
You haven't shown that to be the case.
No, I'll prove why it's the case. Because you say that magnetism is only coherent magnetism, and that it's because of virtual photons. Do you agree with that?
That's it. Hold yourself to
do you agree with that? Because that's what mainstream consensus is. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
I don't know what to believe on that subject. All I can tell you is that it does nobody any good for you to turn the clock way back and act as though your antiquated interpretation of things is going to jive with the way that people talk about it in today's efforts.
No, it's not going to jive because they're different. That's why it's a debate. The reason that it's antiquated was because it was thrown out because all you can do is interrupt me, man.
That's all you do, Witsit. It's all you do.
He just interrupted me, though.
Tell us more about
but you know why?
You know why? Because it's okay for y'all to interrupt me. That's why.
No, it's because you interrupted constantly. You create an environment
there you
people
go.
have to interrupt because it's like you're doing right now.
Well, what about the fact he just interrupted me, Scott, and you didn't say shit about it?
Would you be able to whine about the worst perpetrator?
Yeah, y'all never say anything about when I get interrupted. Ever.
Because there's a problem.
Because you're a bitch.
There's a fundamental
How is that not being a bitch? How's that not being a bitch, though? I'm confused.
It isn't. It's you being obnoxious when you say that. It's us being reasonable adult-like. You equate adult-like with bitchy.
How are you being reasonable when what the very thing you're doing lacks reason because you aren't checking? You're saying, why are you interrupting me again, Scott? You're interrupting me again, Scott. You had to interrupt me again, Scott. You had to interrupt me again.
You interrupted me. That's the whole point. Do you not see the problem? You just interrupted. I can't hear you. You're too close to your mic.
My crying 1-year-old sounds like Witsit right now.
Good for you, buddy.
So, Witsit, all you have to do is just hold yourself to those standards I said earlier. And then everybody else, I promise you, if they don't hold themselves, they'll get muted fast, and they will. You'll be shocked at how much you will lead the room with your tone. Did you leave?
Did it drop or did the room go quiet?
I think he left or something. It always gets shockingly quiet whenever he leaves because he's usually doing a wall sound.
No, he's still here.
I wonder if he'll retract his claim that we cannot make amino acids without a cell. Because it's demonstrably
I guess not. He did say that.
How are you making amino acids?
Well, you're not doing it with the cell, because we showed miliuria.
The components of amino acids, which is a collection of different